Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So our chair is not going to be joining us this morning. She's got a family thing to deal with. So here I am. Let's just wait another couple seconds for me to get, I actually need to pull up my script, so hang on. Where'd it go? I just had it. Hold on. Sorry. Okay. Good morning. I would like to call the December 3rd, 2020 meeting of the closed session to order. Will the recording secretary please call the roll?
Kirsten Barnes,
Here.
Catherine Williams Brown,
Here.
Michael Cooney,
Here.
Marisol de la Torre Escobedo,
Here.
Anna Marie Francois,
Here.
Makita Gwynno Shire,
Here.
Johanna Harwick,
Here.
Alicia Hine,
Present.
Terry Jackson,
Here.
Bonnie Clapp,
Present.
Kevin Kun,
Present.
Jim Marks,
Here.
Cynthia Martin,
Here.
Monica Martinez, David Simmons,
Here.
Tina Sloan, Andrew Wall. We have a quorum.
All right, and I have the wrong script. I'm in the closed session script. Give me a second to get the right script. Actually, Executive Director Sandy, the script that I got this morning is only for the closed session. Can someone send me the chair's regular script?
Yes, hold on one moment.
Thanks.
It's on its way, Commissioner Hind.
Great, thank you. All right, sorry about that. I now convene the December 2nd through 4th, 2020 meeting of the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. We've already called the roll. So we are done with item 1A. We are on to such a good, just lesson in patience here. We are on to the next item. All right. Mary, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, with pleasure. Stand and salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I would like to honor Commissioner Kirsten Barnes and Alicia Hind, whose terms with the commission have come to an end. Commissioner Barnes was appointed to the commission in July of 2013. During her term with the commission, she served as the chair of the Certification Committee and the Fiscal Policy and Planning Committee. Over the course of her career with the commission, Ms. Barnes has consistently shown her enthusiasm and a commitment to the education and support of California's children. Her experience and knowledge have made her a valued colleague on the commission. Commissioner Hind was appointed to the commission in August of 2011. During her term with the commission, she served as the chair of the Educator Preparation Committee, the Legislative Committee, and as vice chair of the commission. Throughout her years of service to CTC, she has consistently demonstrated her commitment to education. Her dedication proved to be a valuable asset to the work of the commission. As members of the Commission on Teacher Credentialing, both of you were instrumental in ensuring integrity and high quality for California's public school educators. Your contributions will be remembered by all of us who have had the opportunity to work with you, and we wish you the very best in your future endeavors. I would also like to recognize Commissioners Johanna Hartwig and Kevin Kung. Their terms also end, and we are waiting to hear from the governor's office regarding the possible reappointments. We have a few general announcements this morning. First, I would like to share that there is an online submission process for members of the public wishing to submit written comments to the commission regarding an agenda item. Please refer to the meeting agenda under the written comments procedures section for detailed information on the process. Next, I would like, I would like to remind everyone about the meeting procedures before we get into today's agenda. Since many of us are still working remotely, this meeting is being conducted via Zoom. Staff is maintaining a minimal presence in the commission building, but everyone else is participating from their own locale. Microphones. We would like you to know that everyone's microphone is muted to eliminate the background noise that may hinder others from hearing what is being said. Commissioners and presenters can unmute yourself, but please mute your microphone after you are done speaking. We'd like to ask that everyone check their room identification and make sure it contains your first and last name accurately. This is very important for those who want to make public comments so that we are able to call on you appropriately, and also so that we get all names accurately recorded in the record. Commissioners, some of you may be using the video audio functions and some of you will be using audio only. Commissioners that would like to speak, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom. Because this is a teleconference meeting, we need to conduct each vote by roll call. Before the vote, we will remind everyone to make sure you are unmuted so that we don't miss anyone's vote. There is a time designated for public comment. If you wish to speak on a specific item, please email your request to comments@ctc.ca.gov or call 916-322-6253 and indicate which item you wish to speak to so we can make sure to call on you at the appropriate time. Please make sure the request includes your full name, your phone number, if participating through phone only, your affiliation, and the agenda item and number and title that you're speaking to. Make sure the information you provide and the name you provide matches the name you use to join the meeting. At appropriate time, the meeting host will change the individual's permissions and ask they turn on their camera and unmute their microphone to share their comment. At the conclusion of the speaker's comments, the meeting host will remove the individual's permission and their camera and microphone will be disabled. Each of our committee chairs will have the discretion to set a time limit on comments depending on the volume of speakers seeking to speak on a particular item. We ask that you keep your remarks brief and focused on the particular item you're speaking to. You will get a 1-minute warning and you'll be asked to finish your sentence before being muted by the meeting host. Also, just like in an in-person meeting, this meeting is being recorded. After the meeting, the archived audio and video will be available via the Commission's website. Okay, let's do this. Item 1B. Item 1B is the approval of the October 2020 minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the October 2020 minutes? I see Commissioner Cooney.
I'll move approval.
Okay, in a second.
I'll second.
All right, Commissioner Kung, seconded. Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, will the recording secretary please call for the vote?
Kirsten Barnes,
Aye.
C. Michael Cooney,
Aye.
Marisol de la Torre Escobedo,
Aye.
Johanna Harwig,
Aye.
Alicia Hine,
Aye.
Terry Jackson.
Aye.
Bonnie Clark.
Aye.
Kevin Kung.
Aye.
Jim Marks.
Aye.
Cynthia Martin.
Aye.
Monica Martinez.
Aye.
David Simmons.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Item 1D is approval of the December 2020 consent calendar. Do commissioners have any items they would like to consider in closed session? Commissioner Hartwig.
I'd like to consider number 26 and number 29 from Jonathan Michael Field and Jesus Garcia.
Okay, we have item 26 and 29. Other commissioners, just unmute. I can't see you all, so if you have one, you can just unmute yourself and say. Commissioner Klatt?
I have one. Can you give me just 1 second? I needed to pull up the number. I apologize. I thought I had it and it disappeared. If you could give me just one
Go ahead.
quick moment. I apologize. I thought I had it up and through the magic of too many tabs open.
Not a problem.
Okay, I found it. Thank you. Sorry for that delay. It was number 63, Meredith.
Okay. Other commissioners? Okay, I have one, number 37, Gomez. All right, seeing no others. Did I seriously just lose my script again? Hold on. Sorry. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the remaining items on the consent calendar?
Commissioner Hein, this is Commissioner Martin. I need to recuse myself from number 17 and number 92.
Okay, so we have a recusal of number 17 and number 92 by Commissioner Martin. Do I have a motion to approve the remaining consent calendar items?
This is Commissioner Hartwig. I move to approve the remaining consent calendar items.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Hartwig and second by Commissioner Klatt, I believe.
Yes.
Okay, will the recording secretary please call for the vote?
Kirsten Barnes. C. Michael Cooney.
Aye.
Marisol Del Torre Escobedo.
Aye.
Johanna Hartwig.
Aye.
Alicia Hine.
Aye.
Terry Jackson.
Aye.
Bonnie Clark.
Aye.
Kevin Kung.
Aye.
Jim Marks.
Aye.
Cynthia Martin.
Aye.
Monica Martinez.
Aye.
David Simmons.
Aye.
Motion carries. Chair, can we go back to item 1C, approval of the 2020 agenda?
Yes, what would you like to do at the agenda?
We need to have the commission approve the agenda. That I believe you skipped over that section.
Okay, sorry. Can we have a motion to approve the 2020 agenda for December?
I move.
Moved by
Commissioner
Commissioner
Barnes.
Martinez and second by Commissioner De La Torre Escobedo. All right, will the recording secretary please call for the vote?
Kirsten Barnes,
Aye.
C. Michael Cooney,
Aye.
Marisol De La Torre Escobedo,
Aye.
Johanna Harwick,
Aye.
Alicia Hine,
Aye.
Harry Jackson,
Aye.
Bonnie Clark,
Aye.
Kevin Kern,
Aye.
Jan Marks,
Aye.
Cynthia Martin,
Aye.
Monica Martinez,
Aye.
David Simmons.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. We are going to do this morning, everyone. Okay, so now is my opportunity to say what I wish. And it actually works out well because I did write something that I wanted to share since it is my last meeting. So if you'll bear with me for a couple of minutes, I would like to read something to you. The first woman I admired in my life moved slow with her body yet quick with her heart. She had a smile that made you feel like you belonged. She would sing so loudly it was contagious. Around her, you knew you were loved, protected, and important. Miss Condor was my kindergarten teacher. I was 4 years old and her faith in education changed me forever. If a student in my class didn't know how to tie his shoe, she believed he would. If a 5-year-old boy couldn't count to 10, she believed he would. If a young girl didn't know the difference between a triangle and a square, with some direction and a bribe to put cheese cut into primary shapes, she believed that girl would learn those shapes. That shape-challenged girl was me, and I never forgot the power of belief. And that also probably explains my addiction to cheese. I really think that the difference between educators and almost every other profession in the world, I really think there's a difference between educators and almost every other profession in the world. Belief. We start our job with people who can't, and above everything, it's our belief that they can, and that changes their life. But it's easy to say, I believe in you. It's harder to prove it in the classroom, to take someone who cannot and make them someone that can. And that is our mission. And that is what this body strives to create, to take dreamers and believers and grow them into people that can make belief a reality. And it's not easy. And after 20 years in the classroom and more than 9 years on this commission, I find myself both the teacher and the student every day that I'm here. When I applied for this position on the recommendation of former CTA President Dean Bogle, an elementary school teacher, a fighter for racial and social equity, for gay rights and student rights, I did so not because I believed I could do a good job, because I didn't. I did so because he believed in me, because he told me, you'll be great. I believe that. So after 9 years here, there's a few things I'm proud we've addressed. But I want to encourage this body to focus on the future. Equity. While the buzzwords of the year are racial equity and anti-racism, as classroom teachers, we know the challenges are much larger than that. We must be standard bearers for equity for every student and every educator. That means race. That means learning disabilities. That means, most importantly, in my mind, poverty. We must believe in our students of color, that they can achieve given the opportunity, that aspiring teachers of color will succeed if given the opportunity. And we must not lower standards because we believe that will make it easier for them. It won't. As a woman of color, I do not need that bar lower. I need you to move out of the way. I need you to pay attention while I show you that I can leap over that bar, the same bar that any of my peers can. Believe I can. Protecting students. Honestly, my eyes have been opened wide serving on this commission. There are bad teachers and bad principals who exploit our children in our classrooms. It's disturbing, but it's a fact. It's this body's job to ultimately protect our kids. The challenges, however, we take action after victimization and trauma have already been created. But can we break the cycle of trauma and abuse? And we do that by holding every credential holder to a high standard, the highest standard, by putting the interests of our students first, and by showing our students that we agree with Ms. Condor, my kindergarten teacher. Our students deserve to be loved, protected, and important. When we hold high standards, we force our colleagues to achieve high standards. Finally, continuously improving this profession. I've been fortunate enough to serve with and learn from so many of you on this commission. And it's your unique perspectives that ultimately allow us to push forward and build upon success after success. It's about more than policy, laws, and tests. It's about your lens and perspective. Yesterday, I got to know Corey's lens, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I believe because of her input, we have the opportunity to beat back inequity and give every student from a traditionally disadvantaged background the opportunity to excel and achieve. I look at Michael's lens, a lawyer by day, but a man who brings the value of fairness, kindness, and love to every decision he makes. It makes me believe that we will not lose the human touch to this most human profession as we try to use data and best practices to perfect it. I look at Kirsten's lens of bringing an approach of patience, understanding, and hope to even the most difficult, most challenging students, that we can truly meet our goal of providing a free and public education for every California student. A saying we know, but yet don't often assess or practice on a daily basis. And I look at Tina, our chair, who brings intelligence and eloquence to even the most contentious issues, with a belief that a solution always exists. It makes me believe that our society is capable of returning to a place of civility, adult leadership, and placing communal interest before self-interest. Education is a field that in our country has not received the same respect as a medical or legal field. Too often we hear terms like those who cannot do teach, or they do it for the summer vacation. Yet we too answer a calling. We too work beyond a four-year degree to develop our skills. We too look at science and research to innovate and improve our craft. We too work long hours and give our hearts, minds, and souls to those who trust and look upon us. This body has successfully done so much to ensure that those who hold credentials are treated with respect, that we are treated as professionals. And I believe that you will continue to build on those successes and continuously make us all better at what we do. Believe that those who cannot will. I am humbled to have been a small part of that. Sincerely, everyone, thank you for that opportunity. From my wine cellar. And on that note, I think Executive Director, it is your turn.
Okay, well, give me a minute to compose myself. Commissioner Darola, Alicia, and Kirsten as well. It has been an amazing time with all of you. It's very hard to say goodbye and to have this be your final meeting with us here at the Commission. Your absolute commitment to the children of the state of California, to the teachers, to the educators who work and toil, just, you know, without any other priority, but to do the best work they can. It's been an inspiration. More than anything, it's been an inspiration. And your words, Commissioner Darola, really put a capstone on that. And the concept of belief. I could not agree with you more. And I will so miss your voice here at the table. And the many, many ways in which you have shaped policy to serve the children of this state. Both of you, Kirsten, I'm so pleased that we were able to dig into new standards for school counselors and school psychologists and the other PPS credential holders while you were here to help guide that work and to inform it. I have so appreciated your voice as a counselor, as the counselor that you are in your heart and mind as we've gone through this pandemic, as we've watched our profession and our colleagues pivot with deep commitment, but no shortage of anxiety about how are we going to get this job done in these conditions. It's been quite a year, 2020. And you two commissioners who are leaving us have been just amazing contributors and colleagues to the work. So I wish you greatness in the work that you will continue to do. And I am deeply hopeful that once we are out of the COVID restrictions, that you'll come to Sacramento and that we can convene at the local wine bar again and toast you in person and make that a regular, pilgrimage to Sacramento 6 times a year. That's all it takes. Just come and visit with us and give us feedback on the work we're doing. And thank you for your service. On behalf of the staff and the public and all who participate in this work, thank you. 2 other things that I would like to report on, Madam Chair. First, I would like to make an introduction. We have a new member of our staff, Dr. Zoltan Sarda, and I'm hoping that he is on this call and that
I am here.
You can actually see him. Okay, good. So wave. Dr. Sarda is in his 30th year in education, having taught in elementary schools for 21 years in both primary and intermediate grades. For the last 10 years, he has been focused on teacher development with a particular emphasis on project-based learning and student social emotional development. This work has included providing methods classes and Cal TPA and induction support in the credential program at High Tech High School in San Diego and at University of San Diego. His most recent experiences were in New York City, developing teacher support programs in a charter school and in a private school setting. He has his educational doctorate in which he focused his research on adult perceptions of children's behavior. Dr. Sarda will be joining our performance assessment team, working with Amy Rising, James Webb, and Gay Roby in that important work. So welcome, Zoltan. We're thrilled to have you join us. We have a lot of work for you to do,
Yes.
and we're grateful to have you on the team.
Thank you, Mary. I'm learning the scope, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much. So the final thing that I would like to report to all of you commissioners is that this meeting is the final meeting for Terry Clark, our Director of Professional Services. Terry has, she's indicated, she told me 2 years ago she was going to retire. She knew that I would need a long on-ramp to this moment. And I'm still not ready, Terry, for checking for readiness. I'm not there yet, but nothing like the urgency of the moment. So Terry has been with the commission for 20 years. I had the great pleasure and foresight to hire her 20 years ago when I was the Director of Professional Services here. And Terry came to us from the induction program in Yolo County, in Solano County, where she had done a variety of different roles as a teacher and as an induction support provider and other things. She came to us as a consultant in professional services and worked initially with the induction group as we were really moving to full implementation for all teachers of 2 years of induction. It was an extraordinary transition in the state at the time, and Terry was a really important set of hands to that wheel at the state team level. But her prowess and her many gifts soon, everybody wanted a piece of what she could offer. So she moved into our accreditation work, where she really developed our science and practice of accreditation. I think she's been through 3 different reforms and restructurings of our accreditation system, which is a sign of continuous improvement, if you will, and her commitment to keeping that work filled with integrity and characterized by an integrity of commission oversight and accountability, recognizing the need for this knowledge-based work and this practice-based work to innovate at the local level. She's been just an amazing driver, supporter, administrator over that work. She served as our administrator for accreditation before she was appointed to the Director of Professional Services. And she has served in that role since, I believe you were made interim in 2010 and made permanent in 2011, Terry. And she has been a right hand to many of us. And she characterizes, her work is characterized by a steadiness that sometimes makes you wonder, are there emotions in there? And trust me, there are. I can find them. But she stays steady, and she keeps the people around her very steady, and has been just an amazing and capable and important voice, bringing policy opportunity to you to consider, giving the legal background that she knows about, the policy background and history of items, placing our policy issues into a context that I think has been very important to help the commission find its way to the policies that it wants to adopt. Terry, I will miss you in this role in more ways than I can possibly say or count. And I thank you for all of your service here and your commitment to this work, to your colleagues, to the public that we've served. So Terry, thank you. And if any other commissioners, yes, there we go. If any other commissioners want to pile on at this moment, here's your opportunity. Or if you're, Madam Chair, if you want to move into commissioner reports and do it in that way, that's fine too.
Let's do that. Commissioners, this is your chance. I'll open up commissioner reports. And if you want to say anything to anyone on this commission, now is your opportunity to do so. And Terry, we are going to, well, I'm leaving too, so I won't have to deal with them missing you as much as they're going to be missing you once they start feeling it. But you have been amazing, and I've learned so much from you, and I really appreciate your expertise. Other commissioners? Commissioner Cooney.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I knew this was going to be a bittersweet meeting with long-serving commissioners leaving and certainly Terry Clark on top of that, but it's turned out so far to just be bitter. I hope it gets better. Alicia, I have to say, our almost decade together serving on this commission has been one of the real highlights for me personally. You brought so much in terms of your heart, your mind, your true thought of every single part of the commission's business is just not surpassed by anyone. And so I'm going to have to find a way to stay in touch with you because you are so much a positive for me personally and for this commission. And Kirsten, I feel I've known you less, but every time we share a meeting or share a glass of wine, it's been memorable, enjoyable, and one of the best reasons why every 2 months, I look forward to coming to Sacramento to be with you. So hopefully we'll have chances in the future, but I can't let this moment pass without expressing great gratitude to both of you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cooney. Other commissioners? Commissioner Granishire.
Good morning, colleagues. Alicia and Kristen, thank you so much for your service. I too have learned from your passion and your wisdom and your commitment to the students that we serve. So I look forward to our paths crossing. And to Miss Terry Clark, oh my goodness, you have been an amazing and responsive thought partner to all the work that we do in California related to educator preparation. Mary described you as her right hand, and in many ways you've been the right hand to all of us who prepare teachers in California. Your knowledge base related to policy and practice is immense. And I'm going to keep your cell phone number on speed dial just in case. And I wish you the very, very best on this next part of your journey on behalf of all the deans and the CSU and all the teachers and students we prepare. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Alicia, I think that Terry has something to say, and I would love to be next after her. Go ahead, Terry.
We'll do Terry, then Catherine, and then, let's go do Catherine. That was weird. Kate, sorry. It's on the screen. Go ahead, Terry.
And I like that we're using first names right now because I think in this moment, that's important. First of all, I just really want to say that, my short amount of time on the commission, it's been just a great honor to work with you, Terry Clark. And I know that our paths have really crossed since I started working at the department. And I just want to say on behalf of my colleagues at the department and on behalf of the superintendent that that you will be greatly missed. And I hope you enjoy the next chapter. And I'm sure our paths will somehow cross again. I know that. But to Kirsten and Alicia, this is really bittersweet. You know, I'm so glad I was here with you during this last year of your time on the commission, but you know, we have a connection. And Alicia, I'm glad you brought it up. You know, we come from the CTA world, and that's, you know, that's where I got to know Kirsten and Alicia in that world, and the great connection of President Dean Vogel, who is an extraordinary man. And you're right, Alicia, he definitely makes you feel like you can do things that you weren't even thinking about. And I'm so glad that he you know, recommended that you're on this commission. That was the right move. And I know that he did that with you, Kirsten, also. And I'm going to greatly miss you, but I know, again, probably our paths will cross. So good luck in all that you do. Yes, I see you. And thank you both.
Thank you. All right, Kate, you're up.
You know, all of us are always students, and as a student of child development, Jean Piaget was always called the giant in the nursery school. And I think for me, Terry's been the giant in the commission. When I first got to know you, Terry, I was a little scared. But everything that you've done for the commission has been remarkable. And no one, just as no one could replace Jean Piaget, no one can replace you. We'll do the best we can. And you've just given us an incredible, as Mary said, integrity and steadiness that's been really stalwart. And Kirsten, you really helped craft us into a community at the commission. And you've been a pal, and also someone who helped us not forget the school counselors who do so much support work for children and teachers in education. And I'm really grateful for that. And as someone from the community colleges, that your voice here has helped me advocate in my place for those for counselors who really hold up the institutions that we are educational institutions. And Alicia, you make the invisible work of classroom teaching come back here every single meeting. And I love that about you. You never let us forget that these are real teachers with real children every single day. And I'm really glad that your fave is a kindergarten teacher. As a fellow kindergarten teacher, I feel like you've really helped support our youngest citizens who are the youngest learners in our state. So thank you all. And I just have to hope that the governor makes a really good reappointment for Joanna and Kevin. So thank you.
I'm sure he will. Other commissioners? Commissioner Simmons?
Okay, I'm a very new commissioner, but I've known actually the three of you for, I think, your whole tenure on the commission. And when on the other side, when you're trying to advocate before the commission and you're figuring out what that statement is going to be and how you can get each commissioner to come to your point of view. And I have to say, for Kristen, I always thought about how that you bring the social emotional and the whole child, and you're concerned about every part of a student. Almost every meeting you bring that up, and how important it is for us to consider them not just as students but as human beings. And for Alicia, I know, okay, one thing always was I thought if I could interject humor, that was a way that I would be able to get to you. But honestly, you're the moral voice of the commission when it comes to what it is that is important in terms of our responsibility as educators to children. And it's just been an honor working with you for the last 10 years. And for Terry, your mind is just beyond anything I can say. I mean, not just the things that go on in that is in your particular department or division, every aspect of the commission. If I have a problem with something, your counsel is always it's the right counsel. And I know for all of the advocacy groups, you really are a person who can help us understand, well, not us anymore, help them understand what it is that the commission is doing and the deeper reason why, and how that the whole thing that is the Commission on Teacher Credentialing works as a whole together. And I just appreciate all of you.
Thank you so much, David. I'm like crying. It's like too early to be crying. Does anybody else want to say anything? I know, Kirsten, you wanted to speak, but you wanted to give other commissioners a chance. So you want to go ahead, Kirsten?
Did Terry want to say anything? I didn't want to, because I also want to express, well, first to Terry, yes, amazing. I've always been in awe of your knowledge, your patience. I know sometimes we would ask the same things probably over and over again, and I thought, oh my gosh, we are our students. But I just been in awe, and you and your staff have just been amazing, and I hope you can have a nice long retirement and can enjoy your time. But I don't know if she wanted to say something before I said something else.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Barnes. I couldn't have a more important group of commissioners to be exiting with. Alicia, Kirsten, it has been wonderful to work with you. The team at the commission, the leadership team led by Mary, the professional services team, my administrators and all staff. When I left the classroom, I was a 4th, 5th, 6th grade science teacher. My son was in kindergarten, and he said, well, if you're going to help new teachers still, I guess it's okay. You could stop being a science teacher. And that's always been my measure every year. Am I having a more of an impact in what I'm doing than when I was in a classroom with my 210 science students? I was funded through lottery funding. We had a science pull-out prep program. I am going to miss all of you. I'm going to miss the work, the engaging, the creativity in the work. I have a new baby granddaughter, and I love her so dearly. So that is going to fill a really big hole. And I still will be around because I'll be helping prepare all the February items. My last day in January is posting day. It's always an exciting day when it's commission agenda posting day. So as you do your February meeting, think of me, because I will have had my fingers in all those items and help preparing that next set of work for you. This is such an exciting time for the commission. Keep doing the great work you're doing. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Terry. Kirsten, do you want to?
So I've been thinking a lot about what I wanted to say, and it changes daily. But like Alicia, I do need to thank Dean Vogel, our past CTA president, who had the faith in me. I remember him giving me a call and saying, hey, Kirsten, I think there's this thing you'd be really good at. Who says no to Dean? So I said, okay. And he said, I think you should apply to be on the commission. They're looking for a school counselor. And I said, okay. I had no idea what I was getting into, but and I remember after my first phone call, I don't even remember who I talked to. I called him and I said, I am so sorry. I had no idea what I was talking about. I just sounded so stupid. I didn't know what they were talking about. I was just like lost. And he goes, well, were you honest? Were you true? Were you yourself? And I said, yes. And he goes, well, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. You're not embarrassing me or CJ. After my second phone call, I called him back and I said, what are with all these acronyms? This is like a foreign language. I don't even know. And so I went back and looked at a few commission meetings, and I remember still again, I don't know if it was Mary I was on the phone with, or Linda or Kathy Harris, and they said, you went back and listened to meetings? And I said, well, I kind of felt like I needed to know what I was getting into. So everyone has always been so helpful and so patient. I will say the acronyms are for those of you who have only been on a meeting or two, it gets better. It'll be okay. Don't panic. You'll be fine. Sorry, it's kind of all over the place today. It's emotional. So as a high school counselor, I kind of want to go there first. It's been very interesting over these last few months with COVID. My district 4 weeks ago went back into hybrid. So we have some students on Monday, Tuesday, some on Thursday, Friday, and some still on distance learning. It's been interesting to finally actually get to see some students in person and talk to them. And even though some of their grades are in the tank, and I mean, they're really down there, the fact that they're back on campus, they say, is just, they feel like they can, like there's a connection. At least they can talk to their teacher, meet their teacher. You know, in high school, you change teachers every year, so some of them have never met the teachers. But what's been positive is that some of my students who I had last year, who sometimes, you know, when they came to see, you're like, oh gosh, here we go. You know, there's been a change, even on the campus with the kids who are there. I've noticed there's more empathy coming from high school students. They come into the office and they say, how are you? Can I sit here? How's your family? And so that to me is heartening, in that they're wanting to engage and actually have conversations, and they're not so much about this, because that's all they're doing is this. So in a weird way, this COVID thing, I think, might be bringing some human decency back. Not that our students aren't decent, but you know, they live on their phones as their life. Well, they're kind of getting tired of the technology. They're kind of getting tired of the Zooms. They want to talk. They want to be around people, and so they're actually asking us, how are we doing? You know, you don't get that a lot from high school students, just because, you know, when you're in high school, it's not about that. And something also they've shared is that they feel like the adults in their lives are making this worse than it has to be. That the adults, they feel like, are over whichever way they feel about COVID, or overdoing it. They just said, everyone just do what they need to do, we would be fine. And so that's been interesting, having conversations about their lens of what's happening in the world, how the adults, the politicians, their own parents are reacting to this situation. So I'll be interested to see down the road what these young adults do, and the changes that have happened and are going to happen. And so that kind of leads into where we are with this commission. You know, yesterday was very, very good conversations. We are in uncharted times. And I truly believe every change that this commission brings to the standards for teachers, administrators, counselors, psychologists, social workers, nurses, anyone with a credential is crucial. But also how we get that done, and how, and I know this is outside the purview, but maybe we need to try to change the purview of the commission. That how do we also help ensure that those in the profession currently get the same updated professional development that our new candidates are going to get? when we talk about the racial lens, and we talk about social emotional, we talk about implicit bias, if it's not somehow implored or stressed that the people currently in the profession, or those of us who have been in the profession 5 or more years, if those people, if the administrators and the counselors and everybody doesn't get what we're getting, we're still going to be where we've been. Okay, yeah, so said it yesterday. Oh, you're the new person. You know, just don't. We've been doing this for years. You need to listen to us. No, actually, I think those in the profession for a while need to start listening to those coming into the profession, and like our student liaison and all that, because it's a different world than when we all went into the profession. And we have to help each other, and we got to somehow find a way to help these two roads come one, instead of, you know, it's always been this way, and then the young ones get frustrated, or the new people in the profession. You don't have to be young to be new. We've got to help somehow bridge that. And I think that the lens that everybody was talking about yesterday is really crucial. And lastly, I will really miss being a part of this commission. I never realized how valuable the work was until we got heavily into it. And yes, I'm so thankful I was on it when we updated the PPS standards and performance stations. I actually will miss the long nights of the closed session when we were in person. And that is just as valuable work as what we are doing with standards, because we do need to make sure that people who don't belong in the classroom are not in the classroom, and those that need to be in the classroom are in the classroom. I also miss all the great dinners, the great conversations, and this truly is a family. We are a family. We come from all different areas, but we have a common mission and a common love for what we do. And this commission and staff are on cusp of such change. And I'm so excited to hear about the thought processes and the willingness to take the lead. And I have faith that all of you will do that and continue to look outside the box. And thank you, Mary, and all of your staff. You've always been so patient and genuine and caring. And the fact that, you know, when all of this pandemic hit, you know, you called and reached out to check on all of us was just shows the heart of this commission. And don't worry, Alicia and I, when we can, we'll get to Sacramento and we will save the seats for you at the restaurant while you're in your long closed sessions. And I hope to someday get back up there so we can all get together and have that final get together. So thank you. I miss you all.
Kirsten. And Kirsten's right. We talked about this already. We already have a plan. Get on the train, head up. We'll meet you guys at the wine bar. We still have a baseball game we're supposed to go to anyway that we never got to do. So thank you, everybody, for your indulgence in this first hour of letting us process leaving. We got a lot of work to do, though, so let's get on it. And what's the next item? Let's see. Liaisons. Any liaisons have anything that they would like to report? Yes, Corey, you're Commissioner or Student Liaison Jones. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So I just wanted to give you all an update that, like, since I joined in October, like, it's been an honor and an eye-opening experience for me. I'm learning so much about policy and what, like, really happens. And I know I still have a lot to learn. Through all of your work and insights and values, I just have to say, like, I have grown a confidence in authority, politics, and in the future of education. And to update you all on things, Terry Clark, she reached out to me, and I met with her and other workers in the professional service division, and they gave me a welcoming orientation so I can best understand the role of the professional service division and the history of the student liaison position as well. I'm so thankful for that opportunity to understand the relationship between the commissioners and the commission staff, also the relationships between CTC and other organizations or educator preparation programs. And this meeting led to me meeting with commission staff Sasha, who helped me gain a better understanding of communication and the goals within the social medias. I'm just so thankful for the professional service division, Sasha and the commission staff, all of you who are leaving. I know that you are going to be doing great on your next chapter and your next journeys. And I just thank you all for your transparency and willingness to teach me and hear me out. Just some updates about like what has been happening on my end. Sorry, my dog. Here we go. On some updates on what's been happening. Last month, I have completed a 14 workshop CSET course for my school site to better support our students. It's been a process, and my university administrators have empowered me and supported me through this endeavor. We are planning to start implementing in January. I'm more than happy to chat with anyone who is curious about how to develop or how to plan this curriculum to be a support for their students. Our students and myself appreciate the new, I don't know if it's a mandate or policy, that the EdTPA and the RECA can be completed during our credential clearance. That is something that we were like, yes. And also some of us are counting down the days. I know I'm student teaching. A lot of our students are interns. And they're counting down the days left of the school year because it has been a lot on this school year. And during one of my classes, my professor was like, I know that we're counting down the days, but take this as you have 15 days left to show how much our students mean to us, to show how much we love our students, and to show how much we really care. So whatever you all doing, finishing out this year, you have that many days left to do those things and to finish strong. After speaking with my colleagues and administrators within the last weeks about any huge concerns that they're having, I know that a concern is testing, and that's a reoccurring theme that I'm seeing even within our data that we were going through the other day. And due to the pandemic and student-specific location or residency, there are some of the students, like personal stories, who have not been able to register or re-register after failing a test in about 11 months. So some even a year. So some students are juniors or seniors, and since the requirement still stands that you must have the CBEST and the CSETs done to be recommended for the preliminary credential, and it's a huge barrier, as I'm sure you all can see, and it's now standing in the way of students being hired and becoming teachers. Because of this, I just suggest that there's something that needs to be done to offset this additional barrier. And I know that payment for the test is getting difficult, especially because now a lot of schools, they don't have a lot of work study positions or student employee positions because we're not in person. So some students don't have those means or even the means to travel. I know that for all of the tests I've done, CSETs and the RECA and the CBEST, I have to travel within an hour and a half to get to my test site. So you all can just imagine if a student doesn't have a car or they don't have somebody who can wait 4 hours, 2 hours for them, how that could also be a barrier during this ambiguous time, along with the anxiety of going into a testing center, knowing that there's COVID. So there's just a lot of layers here. And I believe that there just has to be more movement. I know that there's been a lot of things moving and it's great to see data supporting this. And my hope is that these concerns just help transform policy, mandate standards permanently or temporarily to meet the students where they are. And I know that there's been a lot of changes around us. I know that there are many ways our students can be supported and heard. Next week, I'm going to be joining Chico's Student California Teacher Association to hear the concerns and initiatives that they're doing to get through this ambiguous time, and how I can work together with them and come together to get their voices heard. I know that there's a lot more to come. I'm super determined to find out ways to bring more voices to the table. I know that Pacific's voice, University of the Pacific, is not the only voice I'm here for. So I'll be working to find out how I can bring them to the table as well. And I will update you all on that in our next meeting, how all those things go. But that is my report.
Thank you so much. Thank you for bringing the voice of the students to the table and reminding us what the real issues are. It's really helpful. Let's go with Commissioner Rodriguez. Or Liaison Rodriguez. I think you're on mute. There you go.
Yes. Let me get my hand down, lower hand. All right. Yes, it's one of the strange things from like having been commissioner to liaison is I still feel like when I talk about the commission, I still say we. So I guess, you know, it's always with you. Good morning, everyone. And so we had a state board meeting November 5th and 6th, and I'll give you some of the highlights. The Student Advisory Board on Education, and I'm not sure if they pronounce it SABE with the acronym that Commissioner Barnes was talking about. But they held their virtual conference October 31st through November 2nd, and it culminated in oral presentations to the State Board of Education. Each presentation focused on the issues chosen by the student delegates. So these are high school students, and it was actually very inspiring to hear the student voices. And the 7 topics that they talked about were student representation, civic education, racial equity, school safety, mental health, distance learning, and environmental sustainability. So there's a wonderful report that, you know, I'm happy to share with Haiju, and she can share it with you all, that has the information that they discussed. It was really very empowering. And so moving on, State Board of Education approved the use of short form summative assessments for ELA and math. The CDE consulted with Smarter Balanced and assessment contractor ETS and proposed revisions to the Smarter Balanced summative assessments, the ELA and math blueprints, in order to offer short form assessments to reduce testing time and the burdens on students and teachers during this unusual year. The SBE approved the use of these short forms as a temporary measure to maximize the number of students who are able to participate in the spring 2021 summative ELA and math tests. Additional background on the item is available again through a link, which I'm happy to share with you. The short form reduced the amount of the time that most students will spend on the test. It'll allow some flexibility in scheduling to allow for adequate monitoring of the administrations of the tests. Furthermore, short forms would reduce the exposure of the items from the item bank to students, and therefore reduce the risks of items becoming compromised through unauthorized means, such as posting copies of items on the web. In addition, the short forms have less risk of being interrupted by software, hardware, or network problems, increasing the likelihood that the test will provide useful data. The recommended changes do not necessitate a new standard setting and do not impact the ability to compare scale scores from previous administrations. Other accountability updates: the design of the alternative ALPAC student score reports. The work has been robust this year with input from parents, guardians, teachers, and administrators So these reports communicate the assessment results to students, parents, and guardians. The reports will be available this year in English, Spanish, traditional Chinese, Vietnamese, and Filipino, Tagalog. California, the CST. As our science teachers know, the administration of the CAST is expected to begin next month. Last month, CDE released practice item scoring guides for grades 5 through 8 and high school. The scoring guides provide educators, students, and parents and guardians with detail about the performance expectations, statements that illustrate how this item align with the performance expectations, updated rubrics, and correct answers to the practice items. The California Alternative Assessment for Science, the CAA for Science, another acronym, is for students whose IEP indicates the use of alternative assessment. The first operational administration of the CAA for Science became available to ALIAs on September 8th. For ALIAs conducting in-person instruction, ETS and CDE have guidance for socially distanced administration of the assessment. The CDE has also made the assessment's item content specification available to educators. Educators can refer to them to gain a better understanding of the nature of the CAA for Science, as well as the use for resources for developing the assessments for their students. The 2019-2020 school year will be coming online this month. Having less data, the testing, having less data to process after the summative testing waivers were granted. The CDE will also be returning the online reporting system, the previous systems used by educators to view results, and the state literacy plan. This is coming up in March. It'll be coming up before the board, and the acronym is SLP. So if you see that, we're state literacy plan. The plan has received a lot of stakeholder input, and the Instructional Quality Commission's ELA, ELD committee recommended the draft plan to the full IQC with the CDE's recommended edits and additions from the public review and comment period last month. The plan is a major objective of the Comprehensive Literacy State Development grant from the U.S. Department of Education. The SLP is designed to align and integrate state literacy initiatives, content standards, and state guidance documents to support teachers of students from birth through grade 12. So this is very exciting, and that is the end of my report. However, I would like to just briefly jump into a post-commissioner comment, and Alicia, Terry, and Kirsten, the room will be very different without you. And this was a very emotional morning for me. Hard to hold the tears back because I can't even imagine what it's going to be like going into the meeting room and not having you there. However, you will always be there. And because your voice lives inside of all of us. And I think about, oftentimes knowing Alicia will ask certain questions about, like, is there a cost to the teachers for this, right? And just keeping that always in mind, the mental health component that Kirsten always brings in. And Terry, just like a sense of like my when you would walk up to answer a question and then my heart going, yes, Terry's here, and so I'm really going to miss you. And I want to read something to you because this is, they're not my words. It's Octavio Paz, one of my favorite writers, who said this when he received the Nobel Prize. I begin with two words that all men have uttered since the dawn of humanity. Thank you. The word gratitude has equivalents in every language and in each tongue, The range of meanings is abundant. In the Romance languages, this breadth spans the spiritual and the physical, from the divine grace conceded to men to save them from error and death, to the bodily grace of a dancing girl or the feline leaping through the undergrowth. Grace means pardon, forgiveness, favor, benefice, inspiration. It is a form of address, a pleasing style of speaking or painting, a gesture expressing politeness, and in short, an act that reveals spiritual goodness. Grace is gratuitive, it is a gift. The person who receives it is the favored one, is grateful for it. If he is not base, he expresses gratitude. That is what I am doing at this very moment. With these weightless words, I hope my emotion compensates their weightlessness. In each of my words were a drop of water. You would see through them and glimpse what I feel: gratitude, acknowledgement, and also an indefinable mixture of fear, respect, and surprise at finding myself here before you. So, gracias. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. All right, I have two more commissioners with their hand up. Let's go with Commissioner Brown and then Commissioner Khan.
Gracias, Heidi. That was beautiful. I have a little, just some business to three short things from my perspective as the Community College Commissioner. The first is that the community college system has something called an academic senate. Each institution of higher education has a faculty senate. And the academic senate of the California community colleges meets twice a year in a plenary in which issues are discussed, resolutions are debated to give a voice to the issues and concerns of the faculty of the community colleges, and also to advocate for what is good for students, as well as faculty and the system as a whole. And of course, it was virtual this fall. And I wanted to let you know that there was a resolution that was put together by the San Mateo Community College District, which is where I'm from, about critical support for early childhood education and child development programs. It was then, we call it, the resolution was then perfected at the area and taken to the fall plenary, and it was passed without debate. And so I just want you to know that the faculty of the community college system is very much in support of the development and support of early childhood education and child development programs. Really, really glad for that. The second thing I wanted to mention, I just have three, so I'll try to keep it short. The second thing that I just need to say, and I'm looking at Terry and I'm looking for Phyllis. The commission has been working on early childhood teacher performance expectations and program guidelines, and the pilot that they've been working with, and there have been several open webinars that have been so instructive that the community colleges as a whole, their ECE and child development programs are really engaged. And it's very exciting to see this piece that we've been working on so long to bridge into the teacher commission system. I'm just really excited, and people have lots of questions, lots of concerns, but are really, really glad to be there. And I know that yesterday's strategic session also pointed that out. So kudos for that. Terry, your work has really been helpful. And then my final piece is something that was released on Tuesday, just day before yesterday, which is the governor just released the master plan for early learning and care called California for All Kids. And I know that we'll be discussing that and its implications at our next meeting. But I just wanted you to know that of the 8 major recommendations, because I know everyone hasn't read the master plan, Mary and I already discussed that, but of the 8 major recommendations, 3 of them have direct implications for what our work has started and continues to do, including working towards providing universal preschool for all 4-year-olds, then working next on income eligible 3-year-olds and those with disabilities, with the major goal of having preschool for all in California in the years to come. So just wanted to toot that horn because I think it's really, it's work that we've been doing for some time and will continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kung.
Okay, I'll keep this short. I was at the last COA meeting, and I'll keep it short because I think they're on the agenda next or coming up very soon. But I just want to say that at the meeting, I just want to thank everyone there was working really hard, and they were thoughtful to make sure that the COA works to ensure the quality in our educational prep programs. And again, they're going to be speaking soon, so we'll just hear it from them. But I just want to share with you that.
Great. Thank you for being able to participate in that. All right, let's get into it. I now recess the general session and move to the Educator Preparation Committee. Commissioner Monica Martinez will serve as the acting committee chair. Commissioner Martinez, will you please convene the committee?
Yeah, thank you so much. I do start with a heavy heart, and I did not speak earlier since I knew I had the floor at this point. But Alicia and Kristen, you guys have been, or Kirsten, you have been like amazing role models for me since I've been here as a commissioner, and I always look to you for the teacher voice, Alicia, and everything you just did, Kirsten, about students and their social emotional needs as well as academic needs, but the passion you guys share and the care. And Terry, you know, everything's been said, but I just can't even imagine CTC without you. I knew you pre-CTC, I knew you during CTC, so I hope to know you post-CTC. So with that, I'd like to call the December 2020 meeting of the Educator Preparation Committee to order. We have 7 agenda items. 5 of the items are scheduled for today with 2 more tomorrow. And I think the 5 we have today are actually really fun and really great content. I'd like to remind members of the public that wish to speak on a specific item to please email your request to comments@ctc.ca.gov or call 916-322-6253 and indicate which item you wish to speak to so we can call your name during the appropriate time. Please make sure the request includes your full name, phone number if participating through the phone only, your affiliation in the agenda, item, number, and title. Make sure your name matches the name used to join the meeting. At the appropriate time, the meeting host will change the individual's permissions and ask they turn on their camera and unmute their microphone to share their comment. At the conclusion of the speaker's comments, the meeting host will remove the individual's permission and their camera and microphone will be disabled. So that's a lot, but I think now that this is our third, I think, virtual meeting, if not 4th, maybe folks are kind of getting the hang of this. So the first item today is 2A, Annual Report of the Committee on Accreditation 2019-20. This item is being presented by the COA co-chairs, Anna Moore and Robert Freely, and Cheryl Hickey and Aaron Sullivan. This is an information item only. Ms. Hickey, will you please begin?
Thank you very much. Good morning. I'm pleased to be here to present the item 2A, which is the Committee on Accreditation's annual report. I'm really honored to be here with my colleague Aaron Sullivan and with the 2 co-chairs, Dr. Bob Freely and Dr. Anna Moore. And I also need to acknowledge, you know, that underlying all of this work, of course, is the knowledge and wisdom of our director, Terry Clark. And we will miss her more than we can even begin to tell you. This accreditation system is part of her legacy, you know, really has her wisdom behind it and her thinking. So I'm not going to say any more about that because I need to get through the next few minutes. So, so the Education Code establishes the Commission as the policy-making body for accreditation to ensure quality in educator preparation. And the Ed Code sets forth that the Commission appoints a 12-person body, the Committee on Accreditation, that implements the Commission's policy. This committee members are made up of 6 individuals representing higher education and 6 individuals that are practitioners in the K-12 world. And the leadership of COA is also reflected in that way. One is from the K-12 community and one is from higher education. That is a structural thing that we have done years ago, and it has been really, really valuable. So the item before you today is the annual report. We do this every December, and it summarizes the work around your accreditation system. The report is divided into 3 sections. It's organized by the goals that are in the accreditation framework. The first section is really a summary of some of the overarching work directly related to accreditation and sort of the work around accreditation. The second section that begins on page 29 summarizes the accreditation decisions that are made by the Committee on Accreditation, site visits with some analysis of how institutions did and where things kind of played out with respect to some of the findings on the standards. It includes information on revisits, institutions that required follow-up and institution stipulations, as well as information on program approvals, change of status, and those kinds of things. And the 2 co-chairs are going to report on that section. It's really the work in and around the Committee on Accreditation. And then finally, the third section talks about the current year and what we are currently doing and what the priorities are there. I want to acknowledge our analyst, Michelle Bernardo, for her contributions to this report. She really mined a lot of the data and really put together a lot of the documentation. Before I highlight a few things from the first section of the report, I want to state the obvious, and that is what a remarkable year it was last year. I say remarkable not because of the fact that we were right smack dab in the middle of the accreditation season when the pandemic hit and everybody had the stay-at-home orders, but it was really remarkable and astonishing the way the education community came together to make to complete the accreditation year. The vast majority of accreditation site visits take place at the beginning of October through the beginning of May, which means last year we were halfway through when the pandemic came through quite suddenly, actually. We literally had some site visits that were ready to happen within a couple of days. And so we had to make the quick decision. Do we postpone everything for the remainder of the year, or do we move forward and try to finish the year through virtual site visits, which we had never done before in that kind of manner? The institutions made clear that were being reviewed that they had prepared, they were ready, they will make the move. They did not want to postpone at all, most of them. There were 3 exceptions, but most of them wanted to move forward. Site visit reviewers had scheduled the time in their calendars and they were ready to move forward, despite the fact that they too were moving to distance learning for their own classrooms and their own as faculty members as well. So we'll move forward, we did. And literally in a matter of days, we shifted everything to a virtual site visits. So institutions stepped up, they got the technology in place, they rearranged site visits, they rearranged the interviews. And our consultants worked harder than ever to make sure that these things were going to go through and we were able to finish the year out. So I wanted to acknowledge everybody before we go in, from the institutional personnel, team leads, amazing, team members of the COA who had to meet via technology, our own IT folks who helped us out, and our travel team who had to make a lot of adjustments, cancellations, those kinds of things. So it was really a remarkable team effort, and it was truly inspiring. So I just wanted to put that on the table before we begin to get into the details. I'm not going to go into a lot of depth on section 1. You have the report before you. There is an executive summary on pages 8 and 9 that you can refer to that kind of hits some of the highlights. The COA did meet they met 6 times through the year. They're subject to Bagley-Keene just like you are. So we have to do a public notice and that kind of thing. The section 1 also highlights a lot of the communication we did as a team. We put out the PSD e-news. It goes to over 3,200 individuals now. The PSAs, program sponsor alerts, a lot of those are accreditation related. And those are our formal way of communicating with the field, with program sponsors. And that is a really important tool. I also wanted in this document to highlight all of the technical assistance that took place. So for institutions going through site visits, we do one-on-one accreditation technical assistance. Our consultants are assigned to an institution. They work with them about a year ahead of time on a monthly basis And then they bring in the team leads and begin to work closely with them as the site visit comes closer. So in addition to those routine kind of institutional technical assistance, we had appearances at many, many conferences. We had lots of webinars on various accreditation activities that were focused for particular cohorts of institutions. We added office hours for our annual data system, which has become an important part of our accreditation system. And so then once COVID hit, our webinar and our technical assistance really ramped up again. So our consultants worked harder than ever to make sure that we worked closely with the field to make sure they understood the flexibilities that you all put in place, made sure that institutions going through accreditation activities understood, were calm. We were working closely with them to make sure that they knew that we understood the challenges that were before them. The other thing that this section talks about is the significant routine work that we do, which is really program review, preconditions review, and common standards review. And all of that work is done prior to a site visit. And that takes an enormous amount of individuals, lots of Board of Institutional Reviewers that are people from the field who are our reviewers. And so we want to continue to thank them. We're working with them closely. We are training additional Board of Institutional Reviewers as we go. And we're using them for the teams. And I have to say the new trainings that we've put in place have really resulted in some great additions to our Board of Institutional Reviewers. So we're really pleased with the new folks that have entered into the system as partners. And then just two more things I want to highlight in this section is that we continue our partnership with our national accrediting bodies. There used to be only one, the Council for the Accreditation of Educator Preparation, or CAPE, formerly NCAPE. We continue to work with them. They are rolling out a new set of standards very soon, and we will work with any institutions who want to continue to be jointly accredited by the Commission and by the National Accrediting Body. And then we have been engaged over the last year with a lot of work around the new National Accrediting Body, AQUIP, which is the Association for Advancing Quality in Educator Preparation. We have a number of institutions that are interested in moving forward with AQUIP accreditation, primarily CSUs so far, and we are working with them. We have, the COA has approved an agreement that is now before our executive director to sign that lays forth how we will work with this new accrediting body. So that work will continue, and we have not done any AQUIP site visits yet, but we're looking forward to working with AQUIP and with the institutions who are seeking both national and state accreditation. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Moore and Dr. Frelly, because I'm sure those are the two that you would like to hear from.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hickey. Appreciate that. And good morning, commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you today. We are very pleased to be able to join you and share the work of the Committee on Accreditation for the past year and for this current upcoming year. And first, I'd like to acknowledge the work of our outgoing liaison, Rodriguez, Commissioner Rodriguez. We really enjoyed working with you, and I haven't seen you since our final meeting together, so thank you so much for all the work you've done with us. And also I want to acknowledge Commissioner Kung and welcome aboard. We're glad to have you. We enjoyed your participation last meeting and look forward to your participation ongoing. Moving forward, recognizing the field, I'd like to also echo Cheryl's comments about the dedication of the entire California Education Preparation Committee and moving so very, very quickly to be able to complete the entire accreditation site visit schedule. It was a very, very difficult year, but also very challenging, very busy as always. I want to acknowledge all the institutional personnel, the team members, the dedicated team leads, the commission staff, which is always outstanding, and the other members of the COA for forging ahead in a very difficult year to complete the site visits and all the accreditation activities. I hope the letter that we had prepared for you gave you an idea of what we were working with along with these comments, and they also convey how deeply grateful we are to the entire community for their hard work for the first half of the year and for the pivot to virtual visits and other accreditation activities that began in March and will continue for the foreseeable future. Calling your attention to the report, we'd like to highlight a few items from section 2 of the report, which covers the majority of the work that came before the Committee on Accreditation this past year. On page 29, it lists the 34 institutions that had site visits during the 2019 and 2020 term. And you'll note that 3 of these institutions were postponed, as Cheryl mentioned, due to COVID. And each of these institutions have since had a site visit this past fall. And 2 of them, Hayward Unified School District and also the School for Integrated Technology, SciaTech, were granted accreditation. The 3rd institution, which is Anaheim Union High School District, they'll come before the COA in January, and the recommendation from the team will be for accreditation with stipulations. Of the 34 institutions, 28 of them, or roughly 82%, received accreditation. And for 3 of those reports, the COA required a 7th-year report. On a positive note, we want to mention that none of the 20 institutions received stipulations, so it's very much moving in a positive direction. 5 of the institutions, or approximately 15%, received stipulations, which means that these institutions are required to complete within a year a series of prescribed steps from the COA that will demonstrate their alignment with the standards and to the satisfaction of the committee. Lastly, there's 1 institution whose visit was postponed until this fall and is still to be considered by the COA at its January meeting. If the COA places stipulations on this institution as recommended by the team, it will raise the percentage of institutions receiving stipulations for the entire year to 18% of those within the orange cohort. A couple other findings of note. We'd like to commend the 15 institutions that are listed on page 30 and also 31 that were deemed to have met all common and program standards. Also noted on page 21 is the summary of how all the institutions performed on the common standards. You'll notice that the vast majority of institutions met the common standards, and very few of the common standards were not met. So again, a positive sign. There was one item of note that's been typical for many years, and that is standard 4, the one dealing with continuous improvement. It continues to be the common standard that seems to be most often met with concerns or not met. And we have found that this generally occurs because institutions usually have parts of a unit or a program assessment that's in place, but often they're missing 1 or more critical aspects of the system. Still within that, 24 of the 31, or 77% of institutions, did meet standard 4. I apologize for my throat. We have more fires. I live in Yorba Linda, and we have more fires that are going around us right now, so the smoke is pretty heavy, so I apologize for that. Talk about program standards. The agenda item also includes an analysis of how the institutions performed on the program standards. On table 32, there's a summary of the number and percentage of programs that were deemed as meeting all of the program standards. And that table follows, the table that does follow that reflects the instances where standards were not fully met. And with further distinction of whether a standard was met with concerns or whether they were not met at all. So a very detailed layout for that. And of those, the vast majority of standards that were determined to be not fully met were found to be met with concerns rather than not met. I know it's a bit confusing, kind of like the acronym thing, but it's so we're finding out that meeting with concerns still gives them an opportunity to go ahead and refine, as does not met, but met with concerns certainly puts them in a better standing. So what that means overall is that they're generally aligned to the program standards, but there were some aspects that were missing that prevented the standards from fully being met in the eyes of the COA. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to my co-chair, Dr. Moore, to provide further information. Dr. Moore?
Good morning, commissioners. This your discussion this morning was so inspiring. But I will not take a little bird walk. I will stick to our report right now. Some of the most important work we do is to ensure that institutions with stipulations have taken action to bring their institution and their programs in line with the Commission standards. This happens in the 7th year of the accreditation cycle after the site visit. You will see that the report shows that there are 10 institutions whose site visits resulted in accreditation with stipulations and required follow-up. 9 of the institutions took action and provided evidence that enabled the COA to remove all stipulations and give them the status of accreditation. The remaining institution made significant progress in addressing issues such that we were able to remove many of the stipulations and upgrade this institution from probationary status to accreditation with stipulations. We anticipate being able to remove the remaining stipulations this year. A few words about this important task. In cases in which there are major stipulations or probationary stipulations, we want you to know that the COA isn't waiting a year to see if the institution has made changes. A few years ago, we strengthened the system to allow the committee to require, when we feel it is warranted, quarterly or 6-month progress reports. This action has been a very important part of our oversight and has allowed us to not only keep track of institutions with the most serious issues, but also to provide feedback to them along the way and help guide their actions. In essence, it has allowed us to partner with the institution, thereby helping underscore the accreditation system as one of continuous improvement and support. The other thing I'd like to mention here is that almost universally, institutions that had stipulations removed have shared with us how significant the accreditation process has been in serving to improve their service to students. It has allowed them to see where their programs need to improve and that they've had the guidance and assistance of the commission staff and the COA to give them leverage for change when working with institutional leadership. They most often are grateful to the commission for the experience and improvements that are being made as a result of the accreditation system. The next section refers to initial institutional approval. And this item covers the important task you all do around approving new institutions. As you all know, the COA is involved in this process only after you have approved an institution as a program sponsor. The tables on pages 37 and 38 indicate the new programs that have been reviewed and approved by the COA. This table includes both new institutions and institutions that have been program sponsors for many years. I'd also like to point out that we have continued a practice that started only the year before last, which was implemented with the intention to strengthen the COA role in the program approval. For many years, the COA was provided only with a summary of the information about a proposed program. The COA felt this practice resulted in the COA giving their stamp of approval without having the full picture. However, currently, the COA gets access to all program proposal documentation, the program preconditions, the program response and evidence, and all the reviewer feedback. In addition, the personnel from the institution attends the COA meeting so that the COA members are able to ask the institution directly any questions they may have about the proposed program. We've also worked with staff to be more prescriptive about the types of evidence necessary for program proposals, and Erin will talk more about this as she covers the next section. Another important job of the COA is to oversee the change in status of programs so we have an accurate picture of which programs are actively operating across the state. We help monitor which programs are going inactive and in turn approve their reactivation should they decide to do so, ensuring that they are operating in alignment with the latest standards. Pages 40 and 41 list the 30 programs that have been withdrawn in 2019-20. A third of those are autism spectrum disorder added authorization, which is not unexpected as the demand for these programs declines as new teachers that are entering the field have this content embedded in their program's course content. The section Closed Program Sponsors refers to when an institution withdraws all of its educator preparation programs, such that generally they lose their status as an approved institution. You'll see on page 41 that 3 institutions, all LEAs, cease to offer any educator preparation programs and cease to be a commission-approved program sponsor. The remainder of this section of the report addresses the considerable routine workload of preconditions review, program review, and common standards review. I would like to commend the commission staff and the many BIR members it takes to keep this important work going and highlight the significant workload that is involved in this work. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge these efforts. In preconditions, there were 2 cohorts and 64 institutions submitted preconditions last year. That means the staff reviewed a total of over 2,000 precondition responses. Program review and comment standard review, there were 33 institutions in the red cohort that submitted for the program review, with a combined total of 143 programs needing to be reviewed, as well as their common standards, requiring the effort of over 200 members of the BIR, which also had to be trained. And that was another effort by itself. This is combined, this is a tremendous effort, and we'd like to acknowledge and thank the huge team in the field that maintains this part of the accreditation effort with professionalism and integrity. Before turning the presentation to my colleague, Dr. Felly, I'd like to acknowledge and thank the current COA members and the institutions that support their service. Cynthia Amos from LA Unified, Katrine Chikowski, Sweetwater Union High School District, Jomeline Balatayo, Culver City High School, Martine Martinez, Sacramento County Office of Education, Gerard Morrison, Long Beach Unified School District, Kevin Taylor, Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, Kathy Krisha, USC, Michael Hillis, California Lutheran University, Bob Felly, Chapman University, Cheryl Forbes, University of California, San Diego, and Lynn Larson at Brandman University. Additionally, I'd like to thank the staff of the Professional Services Division and all they do to provide the information support for the work of the COA. In my over 20 years in education, I have served in a variety of capacities: teacher, administrator, and as a faculty member in the IHE system. Additionally, I have held several roles in the accreditation process. I mention this as these experiences have provided me with a unique lens, a lens through which to view the work of both the COA and staff at PSD. What I see consistently amazes me. The level of commitment and integrity is astounding. As a collective entity, one person stands out in particular, and she's been the person of the day, and that's Terry Clark. I'd like to take a minute to thank her for her leadership. The accreditation process, and hence the credentialing system as a whole, has made tremendous growth, and it is where it is due to the outstanding leadership of Ms. Clark. No words of thanks can express our collective appreciation for the time and effort Ms. Clark has put into improving the credentialing system in the state of California. We wish you all your best, Terry, in your retirement, and that wonderful, cute little baby girl. I know how that is. You will certainly be missed, that Velcro brain of yours. And now I'd like to turn the presentation back over to Dr. Felly, who will close and then open it up for questions.
I think Aaron has a section too as well.
Yes, sorry.
I was kind of hoping you might forget me after that, Anna. I'm going to have to really call on my nerves of steel to follow. Well, you know, in closing, Section 3 of this item, which begins on page 45, provides an overview of the planned work for accomplishing the Commission's accreditation and oversight responsibilities in basically in the current year, so 2020-21. Not to beat a dead horse, but we are, unfortunately, all of us still faced with the task of accomplishing our work within the confines of a global pandemic, which we now know is likely to stretch into spring 2021. So much of the specialized work that we did this last year to help institutions and programs and candidates and completers really navigate these strange days has continued into this academic year, and we will continue to do so as long as is necessary. Some of these specific activities, of course, have included providing focused technical assistance through bi-weekly program-specific office hours, as well as facilitating virtual site visits, virtual program review sessions, virtual common standards review sessions, and of course, virtual COA meetings. The COA meeting dates are posted on page 45 of the report. And I just want to call out, you'll see a note next to the March dates. Due to a conflict with the annual Cal Council Spring Conference, the COA voted at its October meeting to move its previously adopted March meeting dates from the 4th and the 5th to the 1st and the 2nd. And as you see, the COA is holding a full schedule of meetings this next year. This has and will allow them to preside over the accreditation reports from all institutions in the red cohort, as well as those site visits that were rescheduled from last spring due to COVID, which the COA saw at its October meeting, and revisits for institutions with stipulations from last year. And of course, for this year, 4 provisional site visits for institutions that are in the final stages of IIA. So that's very exciting. There are a couple of highlights in the coming year's work that do bear calling out. One is the ongoing work to fully build out, improve, and refine and evaluate the best and most appropriate use of the Commission's accreditation data system. As part of this system, accreditation data dashboards are created for each institution. Those dashboards were piloted for Orange cohort site visits in the 1920 accreditation year, with Commission staff creating specialized logins for institutions and site visit teams. This year, however, those dashboards are available to institutions by logging in through their ADS accounts. Site visit teams will continue to be provided temporary access for site visits only and given login information that expires at the completion of the site visit. We do continue to build out some additional dashboards within the data system throughout this year and add a couple of more that will be launched shortly, including bringing performance assessment data online and into those dashboards. So when those dashboards are fully built out, which should happen very soon, they're really an incredible resource for site visit teams just to help them review in advance data and information about the institution that just helps to create a really nice holistic picture about the institution and the programs as they step into that site visit. So it's really a great resource. The second thing I'd like to just call out, and Cheryl mentioned it a little bit in her opening, is the work of continuing work of evaluating alignment with Commission standards and those of national accrediting bodies. As Cheryl mentioned, the COA and the Commission recently adopted a nice crosswalk that shows the overlap between Commission standards and those of AQUIP, which is the Association for Advancing Quality in Educator Preparation. That crosswalk is now posted to the Commission's website, just underneath the CAPE crosswalk, which again, as Cheryl mentioned, we may be looking to update as CAPE potentially adopts an updated set of their own standards. In addition, with the adoption of new program standards for pupil personnel services programs, staff is looking at those standards for those national professional accrediting bodies for school psychologists and school counselors, et cetera, and developing crosswalks for those. And of course, we did just adopt a new crosswalk for the school psychologists programs for that national accrediting body. So that's very exciting, and we will continue to move forward with all of that. Finally, I guess lastly, there's a lot in that section 3, but just the few things I wanted to call out. We do continue to evaluate the various elements of evidence that are requested of institutions and their programs throughout the various activities in the 7-year accreditation cycle. That includes what is submitted for preconditions, for program review, for common standards review, but also for initial institutional approval and initial program approvals, to really ensure that we are asking for the most relevant pieces of evidence and those pieces of evidence that really help to evaluate these programs and these institutions to ensure that they are aligned to Commission standards. And just for instance, this year we updated program review submission guidelines to request that institutions share with us as their evidence a copy of their individualized development plan, or that IDP, which should be developed for candidates and carried with them to their induction programs. So as we heard this last year, a couple of times induction programs mentioning that they weren't always seeing that, we are now asking for preliminary and initial programs to submit a copy of that form to us for program review. So that's just one small example of how we're constantly trying to evaluate what we're requesting to make sure that that we are evaluating these programs' alignment to standards. With that, that brings us to the close of this report. And if commissioners have any questions, I'm sorry, Committee Member Fraley, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Erin. And I just want to go ahead and echo my colleague's comments. Anna, she had mentioned about the work and dedication of the PSD. Like Anna, I've had the pleasure of serving in a variety of capacities with the process, the accreditation system over the past 11 years in the PSD. And I can say with the utmost sincerity, this is without doubt the most hardworking, dedicated, perceptive, and selfless group that I've ever encountered in my 37 years of teaching. And working with the staff of the PSD, along with my colleagues on the COA, continues to be one of the most rewarding experiences that I've ever had in my career. And that includes Terry Clark. Terry, we're going to miss you, but we're certainly going to acknowledge you because my understanding is your last day at work is during a COA meeting, so you won't be able to hide from us. We'll get you there. Lastly, I want to thank the Commission for your support of California's teacher candidates during these really unprecedented times. In addition to expressions of thanks that the Commission, or to the Commission that we have received from the programs that have come before the COA, I have witnessed firsthand students from my university whose fears of the unknown and anxiety for the potential impacts on their future have been significantly relieved due to the support of you and the Commission. So on behalf of California's institutions and all their students, thank you so much for all the work that you do in support of our programs. We recognize there's a lot of information we presented to you today, both in the report and in the presentation, and it's been a long morning already. But we welcome any questions or comments that any of the commissioners may have regarding the work of the COA. Thank you.
Great, thank you all, and big thanks to the committee, as you just suggested, Dr. Freely. We'll now open for public comment. You guys had the email as well as the phone number to call into. Are there any public comments?
We do not have any public comments for this item.
Okay. The public comment period for this item is closed. Just giving a little pause there in case anyone wants to change their mind. And we'll move into a conversation with the commissioners. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments on this item? And I will put the participant list up so I can see your virtual hand, or I can see your individual hand on the screen. I think I'm going to lead with a question really quickly. I think it's probably for you, Dr. Freely. Executive Director Sandy? Okay. Dr. Freely and you both talked a lot about the stipulations and looking at some of the pages and your point where there's more stipulations around the continuous improvement when it gets to the continuous improvement stage. I wonder if you'd be able to kind of characterize the trends around the continuous improvement. So not going into each individual one, but is there an overall trend about those areas of stipulations?
Yeah, the trend that we generally see is that there are areas of improvement and assessment that they have instituted within their different sections of the institution itself, but it's not necessarily uniform. So while we might find one portion would be definitely applying some good research and some data to help for improvement, that's not going to be necessarily applied throughout the entire program. Or some places it's missing, some places it's inconsistent, some places it's applied differently. So we always are asking that they find a system that can definitely have improvement from the bottom up, the top down, and all the way across. So it gives them some valuable data so they can be sure that they're consistent within their program.
Thank you. Other commissioners, I'm looking at virtual hands as well as real hands. All right, well then I have one more question. Sorry, I don't mean to dominate. But, I also saw there was some, on page 31, I was looking at some of the, I was wondering about the common concerns around improving candidate recruitment and support. And I was wondering if you'd be able to talk a little bit to that topic about what some of those concerns are when they, when you go to the accreditation around candidate recruitment and support.
Sure. Anna, do you want to take that? You would like me to? Pointing to me.
I would too, Anna.
Yeah, no worries. I don't have the page up in front of me right now, but I can speak that the recruitment aspect of it, is, in addition to trying to find a wide and diverse pool as possible from the student applicants, we found that our recommendation to many of the programs is to be more active in the actual recruiting of that aspect of it. A lot of programs, and I think you all recognize this, we survive on the basis of our reputation, but sometimes a reputation isn't enough. Sometimes there have to be an active plan to actually seek students within certain areas, perhaps that might be necessarily reached out as they could possibly be, to give them the opportunity to even apply to the university and perhaps enter the program. So I know, like at Chapman, at our university, we're definitely working with some of the local school districts in an outreach program that's much more aggressive than we had in the past to seek candidates that aren't fully represented within our programs. And so we've kind of made that recommendation to other institutions as well. Does that address your question?
Yeah, no, it does. That is kind of the grain size I was looking for. So thank you very much.
Sure.
Other commissioners? It's because we've been going for 2 hours. So we're going to take a break. If it encourages anyone to ask any clarifying questions, now's your time, because we're going to take a break right after this. Okay. Commissioner Francois.
Thank you. And thank you to the COA for this. I mean, this is an incredible report. And it's just, when we're doing the work like this, it's easy to forget the volume of the workload that you all take on. I can't find the chart, but I remember I had a question around clinic. Oh, here it is. On page 34, for both the preliminary multiple subject with intern standards and preliminary multiple single subject with intern standard, it seems that clinical practice keeps coming up. And I'm wondering, I'm not very familiar with intern program. Do you have any insight into the challenges of intern programs meeting the clinical practice standards?
Cheryl, I see you're shaking your head. Did you want to comment on that, or would you like me to? Cheryl, you're muted.
I'm sorry, I'm muted.
No.
Thought I'd have that down by now. No, I was just going to say, with clinical practice, oftentimes it's around the selection and the training of mentors, often, including with intern standards. So that tends to be some of the more often standard findings that are met with concerns, that the training of the supervisor as a supervisor tends to be. Now, you pointed out intern standards, and I can't think right off the top of my head if that was applicable in this case. Bob, do you remember?
I would add that it doesn't mean that those are specifically intern programs. There were 4 site visits with multiple subject, and 2 of those visits had a met with concerns. Mm-hmm. There were 5 for single subject, and 3 of those site visits had an issue. Mm-hmm. And the clinical practice standard is very specific. The standard you adopted in 2016, it has a lot of little details in it. And this means some little detail in that standard is not being fully met by the program.
And that is why she's Terry Clark.
I was just going to say, I was not going to comment on Terry's retirement, because I don't know if Terry realizes this or not, but she started at the commission at the same time that I started in teacher education officially at UCLA. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know educator preparation without Terry Clark. Mm-hmm. And I want to acknowledge that Terry and I have not always seen eye to eye on teacher credentialing, but she has earned the respect of all of us in the UC who offer educator preparation programs, because what we know for sure is that, number one, when we try to reach out to Terry, she responds almost immediately. We also know for sure that if we're veering off course and we're going in the wrong direction, Terry is going to very gently and lovingly redirect us. And it's all made all of our programs so much better. We are in the midst at UCLA for preparing for our site visit in January, early February, and there have been more than a few occasions when we've been in conversation about preparation, and the question has come up, well, what would Terry say? And that has been our guiding star in preparation for accreditation. So thank you so much for your service and I think that you have influenced, Terry, my development as a teacher educator and as a administrator responsible for teacher preparation in ways that I'm probably not even fully aware of. And so thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Commissioner Francois. Any other questions? All right, final question before we go to break. I saw that we had 17 new ed prep programs that were approved. I was curious how that compared to other years. And that could be for Dr. Freely or Anna or Aaron.
Yeah, maybe Aaron or Cheryl, I know you have statistics that go pretty far back. Perhaps you were best.
Yeah, I don't know that it's any more or less significant than previous years. It's about on par.
Okay, Cheryl, shake your head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's about on par. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think
That's a nice steady trend. It's always good.
Looking through the notes that I have, I've roughly, and it was 17 to 20 has been the average over the last couple of years.
Great. That's very helpful. Thank you all. Okay, without seeing any other questions and figuring that people are ready for a break, it is now 11:01. If you can come back at about 10 after, maybe 1 minute after 10 after 11:11, just to be super cool. 11:11. Okay, see you guys then. Just turn off your video and stay on, and we'll.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, it is 11:11. Waiting for a few folks to come back. I did forget to say while we're waiting for people, but that was an information item, and so no action is needed as we closed out 2A. So I officially have said that now, just in case, before we move to 2B. Give a few more seconds. Okay. We have Executive Director Sandy all masked up there. When she takes a break, she means that she went out the door, took a little jog.
Well, that was it.
I know. I quickly ran my dog outside. I was like, you have 10 minutes. So there's a lot of pressure on her.
Yeah.
Okay. Item 2B, we're going to start up with that. Is the update on the California Classified School Employee Teacher Credentialing Program. This item is being presented by Ayor Osamwani, and please correct me if I really messed that up. This is an information action item only. Ms. Osamwani, will you please begin?
Yes, the name is Iore Osawani.
Iore.
Good morning, commissioners. This agenda item provides an update on the California Classified School Employee Teacher Credentialing Program and the 2020 annual report to the legislature. Item 2B is an action item. Once approved, the report will be transmitted to the legislature by January 1st. The classified program is designed to support classified school employees in completing their undergraduate education and teacher preparation to become credentialed California teachers. The legislature approved a combined total of $45 million for two separate rounds of funding, $20 million in 2016 and an additional $25 million in 2017. As of fall 2020, Round 1 grantees are in their 5th and final year of the program. And Round 2 grantees, LEAs, are in their 4th year, soon to be finished. There is an ongoing independent evaluation by Shasta Community College to determine the success of the program. Page 2 of this agenda item has a list of the areas to be reviewed in the evaluation. The final evaluation report will be presented at a future commission meeting. Moving on to the 2020 Classified Program Annual Report in Attachment A. The report is divided into 2 sections. Each section provides update on the data collected from classifieds rounds 1 and 2 that were due to the Commission on July 12, 2020. Round 1 grant recipients are shown in Table 1. Data received from these 25 grantees for the 2019-20 school year indicated that 83% of Round 1 program slots were filled. The remaining open slots were due to program completers and candidates who dropped out of the program for personal reasons. The grantees plan to recruit new participants to fill the open slots. Table 2 shows the academic standing of all Round 1 participants in the past 4 years of the program. As of July 12, 2020, 167 additional Round 1 program participants have earned a California teacher credential and are employed as teachers by their respective LEAs. The grantees indicated that 48 program participants have been approved for a variable term waiver. Additionally, 80% of all Round 1 program participants hold a bachelor's degree. Since July 2017, a total of 400 California credentials have been earned by the Round 1 participants. Education specialist is the most earned credential area with a total of 206, followed by multiple subject 135 and single subject 32. Table 3 indicates the numbers and areas of credentials earned by Round 1 program participants. All other participants are still working on completing degree requirements or their teacher preparation program. Grantees were asked to explain the degree to which the program is meeting their teacher shortage needs. The bottom of page 7 through page 8 provides some direct narrative reported by the grantees regarding the use of the grant fund to meet their local needs and to support classified employees with tuition fees, books, transportation, bus passes, and other university fees. A notable program success is the effective collaboration between grantee LEAs and IHEs. Some direct narrative describing their partnership with IHEs are provided on page 9. COVID-19 has been a significant factor hindering implementation of many classified programs. Program leaders reported difficulty with recruiting because of travel restrictions, the limited access to testing centers, and difficulties with contacting participants. Program grantee LEAs collected demographic data of program participants. Since the demographic data was self-reported, some program participants did not provide any responses. 37% of the classified employees who provided data self-identified as Hispanic or Latinx, as shown in Table 4A on page 10. 32% identified as white, 10% identified as Asian, and 5% identified as Black or African American. The total of all other races, including multiracial, equaled 5%. As shown in Table 4B, nearly half of the participants did not report their race or ethnicity. Moving on to Section 2 on page 11, update on Round 2 Classified Program Year 3. At the November 2019 Commission meeting, staff reported that all Round 2 grantees were in full operation. Round 2 grant recipients are shown in Table 5. 97% of the Program 2 participant slots were filled in 2019-20 school year. Table 6 on page 13 shows the academic standing of all Round 2 participants in the past 3 years of the program. As of July 12, 2020, 200 additional Round 2 program participants have earned a California teaching credential and are employed as teachers by their respective LEAs. The grantees indicated that 22 program participants have been approved for a variable term waiver. Additionally, 71% of all Round 2 program participants hold a bachelor's degree. Since July 2018, a total of 370 California credentials have been earned by Round 2 participants. Education Specialist is the most earned credential area with a total of 163, followed by Multiple Subject 118 and Single Subject 47. Table 7 on page 14 indicates the numbers and areas of credential earned by Round 2 program participants. Round 2 grantees were asked to explain the degree to which the program is meeting their teacher shortage needs. The bottom of page 14 through page 16 provides some direct narrative reported by the grantees regarding the use of funds to meet their local needs and to support classified employees. Grantees also described their successful collaboration with IHEs. Based on the demographic data analysis, 36% of the classified employees who provide data self-identified as Hispanics or Latinx, as shown in Table 8A on page 17. 27% identified as white, 6% identified as Black or African American, and 4% identified as Asian. The total of all other races, including multiracial, equaled 7%. As shown in Table 8B, over half of the participants did not report their race or ethnicity. To sum up this report, the July 2020 classified program data analysis shows that participants in both Round 1 and Round 2 are effectively progressing through the program. LEAs report using grant funds as a means to help meet their local teacher shortage needs. Of those who reported, the grantee LEAs have established a collaborative partnership with IHEs. Over the 4 years of grant funding, 770 credentials have been earned and issued to the classified staff. The Commission will continue to work with these programs. Outcome data provided in the 2021 annual report will be augmented with data from the past 4 years of Round 1 grantees and with continuing implementation data from Round 2 grantees. Staff recommends that the Commission approve the 2020 annual report on the classified program for transmittal to the legislature. This concludes the report. I am happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will now open for public comment. Again, everyone should have the email and the phone number. Recording secretary, are there any public comments?
Yes, the first is Jacob Guthrie.
Okay. Oh,
Please
hello,
state
Mr.
your
Guthrie.
name and affiliation for the record.
Good morning. My name is Jacob Guthrie, and I'm here on behalf of the Los Angeles Unified School District. I am the Assistant Director of Certificated Workforce Management in our Human Resources Division, and I would first want to begin by thanking Commission staff for compiling this report, and would like to thank the Commissioners for their hard work in advocating for grant-funded programs that seek to address teacher shortages through leveraging the resources of our school communities. LA Unified has been a recipient of the California Classified School Employee Teacher Credentialing Program grant, and through this program, we are supporting 35 classified employees who are seeking to become teachers in our district. To date, we have hired 14 of these individuals as teachers of record in LA Unified. Our program is entitled Boost, Building Our Own Staff as Teachers. This program is part of our larger Grow Your Own strategy, and because of the flexibilities that this grant offers us as an LEA, we have the opportunity to support a wider array of classified employees than we would be able to within our previously existing career ladder programs, which are limited to supporting classroom assistant employees. With the Boost grant, we are able to support employees from a variety of classifications, including office managers, food service workers, financial analysts, IT support technicians, and even a bus driver. We're also appreciative of the fact that the program permits us to continue to support our members until they have reached their credential goal. With other Grow Your Own type programs, the financial and personal support for members ends at the moment that they become a teacher of record. So many new teachers enter our profession under internships or provisional permits, and data tells us that these individuals are our greatest retention risk. by providing continued support and individualized advisement while serving on internship credentials, provisional internship permits, or short-term staff permits, we are not only able to address the teacher shortage by building our own staff as teachers, but by providing them with the support to ensure that they will remain our teachers for a long time to come. By enabling us to continue to support these teachers while working towards their credential goal, we are also addressing a key barrier to entry to our profession, as our members are able to earn a living as a teacher, maintain health benefits for their families, and continue to receive support towards achieving their credential goal. This program is also crucial to our efforts to maintain and increase the diversity of our workforce. We are very proud to report that over 90% of our participants identify as people of color, and this program supports our goal of ensuring that our students are taught by teachers who reflect the diversity of their school communities. This program provides us with additional means to invest in our greatest asset, our people. By building our own staff as teachers, we are investing in our communities and will therefore reap the dividends of that investment in the form of student engagement, achievement, and ultimately positive outcomes for the students, families, and communities of LA Unified. I thank you for your time today and encourage you to continue to advocate for investments like these as we seek to recruit, train, and retain the very best teachers for our students, families, and communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Guthrie. I think you spoke to this last time we reported, and I really appreciate it because you put a really nice face and kind of the qualitative information to this quantitative information. So I really appreciate you speaking on this again and focusing on a homegrown program that attracts folks of color to go into the teaching field. So do we have any other public comments?
Yes, Harold Acord. Please state your name and affiliation for the record.
Hello, everyone. My name is Harold Acord, and I am speaking on behalf of the 300,000 plus members of the California Teachers Association. I hope you don't mind, Madam Chair, if I just take a very quick moment of personal privilege and congratulate Terry Clark on her retirement, and to speak to my two CTA union sisters, Kirsten and Alicia. You will be missed. We'd love to see the work that you've done. I've known you a long time, and Alicia was on my committee, and she ended up becoming, after I was chair and after Danette was chair, she became chair of the committee. And you all have done great work, and you have shown exactly what our association believes, what our union believes, that great leaders should be leaders not just in their union, but in their profession. And we're proud of you. Now I'd like to speak about this item. I don't know if you all remember, I might have mentioned before that my first job in education was in Flint, Michigan in the bilingual migrant workers program as an instructional assistant in a classroom around 1985, 86. And it is exciting to me to see, because then I became a teacher in that program. And then I came to California, and now I'm in my 34th year in Moreno Valley. And if you looked at the data that you received, you'll see that Moreno Valley is one of the districts that's engaged in this program. And it is great to see us bring teachers into our profession who look like and our students who are part of and in and of our community in Moreno Valley. And we're so excited. And we've been excited as the unions, as CSCA and as MBEA, which I am the immediate past president of, to work with those teacher candidates and to help them in any way that we can. So it has been a very positive experience in Moreno Valley. It has been exciting to see that. And it's great to see people have even been my student in the past to become great teachers in our district. So we want to applaud the whole state of California and the CTC's part that they take in making this happen. We're actually putting our money and doing this where all of our mouths have been. So that's great. Thank you very much and keep up the great work.
Thank you so much, Mr. Acord. Appreciate your comments. Do we have any other public comments?
No, that was the last request. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Recording Secretary. The public comment period for this item is now closed. Let's give a minute. We'll now move into the commissioner discussion. I do want to remind folks this is actually an information action item. We will, in the end, approve this report, or I guess not approve this report. Do commissioners have any questions or comments in this item? And I'm looking at the virtual hands, and Commissioner Hartwig has her hand up there. But again, I can look at virtual and I can look at screen. So whatever is comfortable for folks.
Thank you, Commissioner Martinez, and thank you for this report. It's really exciting to see the outcomes of these really interesting grant programs and to hear about the impact that they're making. I had a question about the self-reporting of racial and ethnic background, and this is actually something that Ms. Osamwani, you noted in your report, was that we have quite a low level, to me it seems, of the reporting. For round one. Only 52% of the individual participants reported, and in round two, only 43% reported. My understanding, as has been reflected by the comments so far, is that one major goal of this program is to be able to diversify our profession. And so, of course, I think there must be a high premium placed on our knowing what the backgrounds are of the people who are participating. I really thank Mr. Guthrie for his comments again this year. It's wonderful to hear how this is working in LAUSD and to hear about expansion ideas that there might be. And I will also note that Mr. Guthrie did note that 90% of the participants in LAUSD identify as people of color, which means to me that it is possible for the grantee districts to collect what sounds to me like 100, close to full information about ethnic and racial background of individual participants. So I just wanted to know if there are ideas or ways that we could encourage our grantee districts to make follow-up efforts in order to collect fuller racial and ethnic self-identification information, since that's so key to one of our core outcomes we're looking for this grant.
Great, thank you. Do we have a, there you are. I couldn't see you.
I'm here.
Okay.
So the responses to the ethnicity and the racial data are voluntary and, self-reported. And with the whole COVID during this period, a lot of programs noted that it was hard to contact the participants to provide responses to specific data. So that's one factor.
I think may I add to that, Commissioner Hartwig and Iore, exactly what Iore has said. There are challenges. And I think, because you'll hear later in our teacher residency grant update, there are some challenges. And I think we, the commission, can continue to communicate with our grantees relative to the importance of this data. The bottom line is the individual may choose not to. And I think as the state funded grants are continuing success, I think if our friends in the field and our grant recipients in the field want those opportunities to continue, I think we can do some sort of cheering them on to be fully engaged in sharing the information so that we can show the successes of these grant programs. So I think it's a yes and for sure.
Wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate that. I understand the challenges from this year. And I would imagine that, communication and messaging about how that information relates to our assessment of the success of the program and of the continued support for the program, for folks to be able to advocate on behalf of expanded funding or continued support for the program, how that data relates to that evaluation might also provide additional motivation. I understand, of course, it's always up to the individual participant to decide whether or not to respond, but perhaps some additional messaging that really ties together why that data is so important to the continued support of the program might be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for Commissioner Hartwig. So maybe a little bit more clear on the local approach in diversifying the teacher workforce in terms of the messaging, since legally we're bound by other things. Great, thank you. I have two other hands. We'll go with Commissioner Grando-Shire and then Commissioner Simmons, and then Commissioner Hind.
Thank you. Commissioner Hartwig took my notes of what I was going to comment on and spoke in a really eloquent way. It was curious to me, the low reporting rate, and a couple of things. One is how does this report compare with other reports regarding race and ethnicity? I don't know if Ms. Osamwanyi can respond to that, or Ms. Mendoza. Is this unusually low? And then I have another comment.
Like me to do this, ERA? Okay. So, so in October, I was presenting relative to local solution grant programs, and we had similar results. You will see some similar results with our teacher residency grant programs. I think there is a little bit of a theme with our grant program data collection. Now, relative to our ADS, the accreditation data system collection, I would need Terry or Cheryl or someone else to join in. But we're finding in the grant world that this is a little bit of a challenge. And so because we're, classified grants has been going on for a while, and I'd have to look back at the years to see to what degree this particular number is similar to past years. But for local solutions and teacher residency, we're just finishing that first full year of data collection. And again, I think we can be a little more communicative around the importance of having excellent data. So,
thank you, Ms. Mendoza. Mr. Guthrie, I always really appreciate his presentations, and perhaps we can work closer with the grantees, the administrators and the grantees, to provide these kinds of testimonials to the commission as we think about continued support and additional funding for these kinds of programs. And perhaps with the changing political times that we are looking forward to in January, individuals' comfort level in identifying their backgrounds may change. So I'm hopeful about that. But again, thank you for this helpful report.
Great. Thank you so much for those comments. And we'll move on to Commissioner Simmons and then Commissioner Hind.
This is one of my favorite programs that the commission does. My first meeting with commission staff was, 1992, I think, where the commission staff member that was running the meeting was a brand new consultant that had just been hired named Mary Sandy. And I had the honor of running a paraprofessional to teacher training program for several years. And it is one of the most rewarding programs that I think the commission has done. In fact, this morning when I was walking into the office, across the hall, I saw a graduate of the paraprofessional teacher training program who's one of our special education teachers and got her credential 20 years ago. And so this is a program that truly does impact kids and helps communities hire from within. All of the comments that Jacob made are right spot on. The issues that we had with the para program really had to do with lack of flexibility. And if a person's classification switched just a little bit, they would lose funding and be responsible for paying the money back. So I think that this iteration of the grant shows many improvements. And I think a lot of it has to do with LEAs giving feedback to the commission. The one question I did have, though, was when I was running the para program, it was my responsibility as an LEA to provide demographic information. So my question is it the way the grant is written, or how is it that you aren't able to require LEAs to give us this information?
We require LEAs to give the information as part of the request for proposal and the request for data collection. The challenge is that the individual reports his or her ethnicity, his or her gender, his or her sexual orientation. So that's where the challenge comes in. Does that make sense?
Any other questions, Commissioner Simons?
No, thank you.
Great. Commissioner Hind.
This is one of those things that when the idea first came to light, everyone was like, oh yeah, duh. Why haven't we been doing that all along? And so when we give people who wouldn't have normally had access to education, and we give them that opportunity, we, like the global we, the world, when people have access to education, they can do so many things. And it just goes to show how powerful one small change to the status quo can have such a huge impact on moving our mission forward. So if we're always thinking about what is our mission, we had a great strategic planning session yesterday. And if we're looking at what is our mission as a commission, and it's fine to have a mission, but it's useless if you don't try to move it forward, right? If you don't try to go somewhere with it. So this is an example to me of just thinking a little bit outside of the box. Like somebody late at night was like, hey, you know who the most popular person on campus is? The custodian. Why don't we, do something about that? See if the custodian wants to be a teacher. And all of a sudden you have people who have access now to do something more. And I just think it's probably one of the best ideas. And I can't wait to see what other ideas come off of this one.
That's great. Thank you so much. I don't see any hands up in the panelist section, so I'll just look around, and while I see if there's any other questions, I wanted to, I guess, ask a question, but I think it might be a comment in addition, just given all the conversation around demographics. So I think we probably have too little of data to be able to disaggregate the information by ethnicity when it comes down to credentials, like the multiple subject, the single subject, as well as academic standing, whether they're junior or senior. Is that correct? That we just don't have enough data to disaggregate? Because I think it'd be really interesting to see what the trends are by subject and by academic standing, and probably other areas as well. Those were just the two that jumped out to me.
Yuri, do you want to take that one, or you want me to? You all right?
You can go ahead and comment on that.
Okay, great. Indeed, yes. And I don't believe we really haven't asked the information in that way also. We haven't, we're asking the levels of the, junior class standing, senior class standing as how many, and then we ask for the breakdown of ethnicities and races. So it's not asked in that way, Commissioner Martinez. That makes sense.
And then same thing with the multiple subject, single subject. I'm curious, given, the low proportion of minorities who end up going to a 4-year university. And then of course, if you think about the masters. And so I assume that trend would just kind of drive and maybe be consistent with the numbers. But if we ever have a chance, I think it'd be really interesting to look at that. So I'm going to go to Commissioner Clapp. Maybe I spurred something, or we have another conversation, and then Commissioner Hind again.
Thank you. I just had a question. I echo people's excitement about this program. I think it's one of the most exciting things since at least I've been on the commission that I've been able to hear about. And this report, I think, just furthers the excitement because it looks like it is in fact doing the things that I think we hoped it would do. So my question is are there any bodies, or are we the body that should be lobbying to really make this, instead of a grant program that could end, something that's more embedded or not reliant on a grant that might expire? So is there anyone out there that anyone knows of that is really lobbying at the legislative level to make this a little more permanent, or would that be our charge to do that, or all of the above? I don't know if anyone has any information they can share about that.
Sorry, I had to unmute. I can report that last January, additional funds for teacher residencies and classified grant programs was included in the governor's budget. And of course, due to the pandemic, those funds were taken out of the governor's budget. But I see Terry Clark here, so I'm going to let her continue.
I actually was bringing Michelle Peralt, our Director for Administration, in. She can speak to this.
Yes, and I'm so sorry. I apologize. I had another call coming through. So if somebody would just repeat the quick question. I think it was related to additional funding in the budget.
How to more institutionalize this classified program so it's not based only on grant funded money that will expire, or how to get more grant funded money since the program does seem to be working.
Yeah, I mean, I think, thank you, Terry, I appreciate it. And my apologies, as much as we try not to multitask, it sometimes happens. So to answer the question, I think there's definitely an agreement, particularly at the policy level with the administration and the legislature, including the Department of Finance, that this is has been and continues to be one of our most successful programs in getting teachers who are already embedded at the site level into a teacher position. So there continues to be ongoing talks, as obviously has been noted. The pandemic has created some budgetary constraints. And so, as Kara mentioned, there was absolutely additional funding, which would have been for us a third round of grant funding that had been provided in the January budget, which it got stripped once we started to see the budget go the wrong direction. I think that to the question about how do we kind of create and make this an ongoing program versus something that is more reliant on grant funds, I don't know the answer to that. These funds have all been Prop 98 dollars, which means that they have been funds given to us that typically go to K-12. And so what they have been doing is giving us one-time funds as they've become available. That being said, I think that as we start to continue to monitor the data, as we start to see the numbers increase, and we actually see bodies and individuals becoming teachers out of this program, that is a good opportunity to utilize that story and that narrative to ask for line item budgets. It would be appropriate, I think, however, that it would probably still continue to come out of a program that is funded or supported out of the K-12 slot of funding. So not a great answer to that, other than I will say, and even as of recently in the last couple of weeks, we've had some questions from the administration and finance about this program and asking us, is this a great way to support? Can we have some of this? So I know there's absolutely continues to be an interest in supporting this if there's funding available. I'm not sure if that answers the question, but.
Great. Commissioner Hines?
And my question was answered.
Okay, great. I wasn't sure if someone else took your hand down. Okay. Any further discussion? Going once, going twice. Okay. This is an information action item. So do I have a motion to approve the 2020 annual report to the legislature on the California Classified School Employee Teacher Credentialing Program for transmittal to the legislature?
So moved.
Commissioner Hines? Do I have a second? Okay.
Second.
Commissioner Klatz. Great. Any further discussion? Yes, Executive Director Sandy.
If we're done with this item, I just want to do a quick time check with you, commissioners.
Yes, I just simply have to take a vote, and then do you want to do the time check before the vote?
Carry on. No.
Yeah, because the next agenda item is going to be an hour, so we have to find out if people's stomach is growling. Okay, so let's take a vote. Will the recording secretary call for the vote? Each member please respond with a, nay, or abstain.
Kirsten Barnes.
Aye.
C. Michael Cooney.
Aye.
Marisol de la Torre Escobedo. Johanna Harwick.
Aye.
Alicia Hine.
Aye.
Terry Jackson.
Aye.
Bonnie Klatt.
Aye.
Kevin Kung.
Aye.
Jen Marks.
Aye.
Cynthia Martin. Monica Martinez.
Aye.
David Simmons.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you, Ms. Osamwani, for leading us through this report. I will now move to what I think Executive Director Sandy wants to ask. So.
Yes, so we have 3 items remaining on your morning agenda, and I think I'd like to recommend that you maybe take 2D next. Terry, if you could come on screen and tell me if your presenters are ready. We do have people who will be participating in the presentation of this item, and it could take longer. We are hoping to break by 1 o'clock for lunch, and so that we can go into closed session by 1:30. So we believe we can get through 2D and possibly 2E today. We may need to postpone 2C to tomorrow. I'm getting all the nods from.
Yes, we're prepared for that.
Okay. Does that work, commissioners? Can you wait till 1 o'clock for a lunch break, and we'll take 30 minutes? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you, Mary and Terry. So item 2D is an update on the teacher residency grant programs. This item is being presented by Cara Mendoza and Kristen Najarro and Project Director Melissa Eller White from West Ed. This is an information item. Ms. Mendoza, will you please begin?
Commissioner Martinez, good morning again, Commission members. It is my pleasure to be here today with our grants consultant, Christina Najarro, and our colleague from West Ed, Melissa Eller White. West Ed has been funded by the Gates Foundation to conduct a formative evaluation of the California Teacher Residency Grant Program. Together, the 3 of us will provide initial data and information regarding the first full year of implementation of the state's grant-funded teacher residency program. As you may recall, funding for the teacher residency grants was included in the 2018-19 state budget to address teacher shortages in STEM, bilingual, and special education, to help recruit and support the preparation of individuals in the teaching profession, to promote and provide support for existing teacher residency program models, and to support the induction of educators into the program. Authorizing legislation provided $75 million, and of that, $50 million was for special education teacher residency programs and $25 million for bilingual and/or STEM teacher residency programs. And these grants were awarded to eligible local education agencies, otherwise known as LEAs, who submitted a successful grant proposal to expand existing or begin new teacher residency programs in partnership with institutions of higher education, IHEs, currently operating a commission-approved educator preparation program. Grant funds provided awards of up to $20,000 per resident, and LEAs had to promise a 100% match of their own funds for direct services that directly benefit teacher residents. A list of grantees, in total, 38 teacher residency programs were funded, and a list of these programs, their IHE partners, and the planned credential areas can be found in Appendix A of this agenda item. In addition to the state funding, the teacher residency programs have received additional support and attention. As a support for the 38 teacher residency grantees, funders and advocacy organizations created the California Teacher Residency Lab to provide technical assistance and a system of support to accelerate the development and growth of the teacher residency programs. Under the leadership of the CDE Foundation, LEA IHE teacher residency programs teams work together to reach the vision of a California's powerfully prepared, diverse, and thriving teacher workforce that advances educational equity and justice, providing the learning supports that ensure every student reaches their full potential. Additional attention comes from West Ed, which is conducting a formative evaluation of the California Teacher Residency Grant Program. Through data sharing agreements, West Ed and CTC have partnered in this endeavor. Today, CTC staff will share initial data collected for year one, the year one cohort of teacher residents, and later Melissa will share initial learnings that can be found in the West Ed report titled Launching the California Teacher Residency Grant Program, Findings from Year One. And a link to this full report can also be found in the agenda item on page 2. For now, let's review initial data that were due on July 31st. Today, Christina will present data relative to overall enrollment and teacher residents, And I will be back to share information relative to completers of our teacher residency programs. For now, I'll pass it over to Christina.
Thank you, Kara. Now that we have reviewed the background of teacher residency grants, let's dive into some of the year one data, which was reported in July of this year. The request for proposals, otherwise known as RFP, specifically mandated that grantees report on 17 data elements during the 5 annual reporting periods following the distribution of year one funds. Each of those are listed in this agenda item on page 3. But it is important to note that staff have added a comment after each of these data elements indicating when statistics will be available. While grantees have been able to provide information on many of the required elements, they will not be able to report on several of the more long-term impact elements, such as residency grant retention rates, until year 2 and beyond. As the numbers of those enrolled in residency programs are reviewed, it's important to remember that not all teacher education programs offer identical paths for their candidates. Some programs begin in the fall and some begin in the spring. Similarly, a multiple subject or single subject course of study may be completed in 12 months, but an education specialist program may require 18 months of coursework and clinical practice. The tables provided reflect the number of teacher residents enrolled at any time in the 2019-2020 academic year, July 2019 through June of 2020. Commissioners will see that year one funds enabled 31 programs to enroll 309 teacher residents during the last academic year, while another 6 programs commenced in this fall of 2020. Table 1 on page 4 shows that the majority of teacher residents were enrolled in special education programs, followed by STEM and finally bilingual residencies. Table 2 on page 4 expands on the data by listing the types of clinical placements of each of the 309 teacher residents enrolled in the 2019-2020 school year. And finally, in tables 3 and 4 on page 5, the race, ethnicity, and gender breakdown of candidates enrolled has been provided. At this point, I'll pass it back to Dr. Mendoza so she can share the teacher residency completer data with you.
Thank you, Christina. As Christina stated earlier, not all educator preparation programs follow the same calendar for start and end dates, and our teacher residency programs are no exception. The data for year one teacher residency program completers begins on page 5 of our agenda item. As a reminder, 27 teacher residency programs started in the fall of 2019. And of these programs, 14 enrolled residents pursuing an education specialist credential. Many of these programs are longer than 1 academic year, and today's data will not have completer data for these residents because the program has not concluded for them. With this said, table 5 on page 6 of the agenda item shows that of the 220 residents enrolled in fall 2019, 70% have completed their program and earned a credential. 67 residents have not completed the program, and of these, 53% are in the 18 months or longer education specialist program, as indicated on table 6. As noted in Christina's section, another data set collected is relative to race and ethnicity. Because of the partnership with West Ed, staff is able to provide a deeper dive with this data for completers. Table 7 found on the bottom of page 6 and table 8 found at the top of page 7 compares the race and ethnicity of teacher residency program completers to teachers in teacher residency LEAs and teachers statewide, and also compares teacher residency completers to students in the teacher residency LEAs and the students statewide. And I know Melissa will have this slide also to share with you later. The next set of data to note is the pass rates of completers for the Teacher Performance Assessment, or otherwise known as the TPA. Tables 9 and 10 on page 7 show the pass rates for Cal TPA and Ed TPA. At this time, there were no completers who have taken the FAST, otherwise known as the Fresno Assessment of Student Teachers, as their teacher residency programs began this last spring. It is important to note a couple of things related to TPAs. 1, for this data set, no education specialist residents will have information for TPA because at this time, TPA is not required for our education specialist candidates. And 2, the year 1 residents completed their programs amid a pandemic. We would be remiss not to share this reminder. Due to the governor's executive order also, passage of the TPA has now been moved to a component of earning one's clear credential rather than one's preliminary. The last set of data I will share before passing this to Melissa is from WestEd is about funding. Of the $75 million originally available in 2018-19, all but approximately $23 million have been awarded to grantees for the life of the grant. And that is through June 2023. The remaining $23 million was earmarked for an additional RFP for a special education specialist teacher residency program that was posted in January of 2020. Unfortunately, those funds were returned to the state as a result of the state's financial needs due to COVID. On table 11 on page 8 summarizes the year one spending of all the programs thus far. Now, I invite Melissa Eiler-White from WestEd to share some initial findings from their evaluation.
We're actually working to get Melissa back in the meeting. She dropped out of the meeting. We have Katie, I think, for the PowerPoint. So if Katie could open up the PowerPoint, and we're going to hope Melissa is here in just a moment.
Excellent.
And since we have a PowerPoint, can Melissa just call in if she's having a Wi-Fi issue?
Melissa should be able to call in, yes. Katie, go ahead and share your screen, please, and pull up the PowerPoint if possible.
Sure.
Technology is our friend.
It is our friend. Breathe.
Can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Not from the beginning, though. There you go. Thanks, Kate.
Is Melissa able to make it on?
We don't have her yet. So if we don't get her within like the next 20 seconds, what we could do is go on to 2E, let that presentation take place, and then as soon as Melissa gets back on, we could finish this item. This is an information item only.
Okay. I just heard from Melissa that her internet is acting up. So maybe we should work out with Melissa how to call in.
There is a phone number on the agenda itself.
I will send her the phone number right now. So sorry, friends.
Mary, would you like us to just go and do 2E while we figure out this technology situation?
Let's give it another 20 seconds if you're comfortable, since we got the PowerPoint and everybody at attention. Let's see if we can get Melissa on the phone. Internet problems, when it's shaky, you can't guarantee when that's going to come back. So,
If Terry, Kara, can you email us her phone number so we know which one to allow her to speak?
Yes, I will. Sending you her number now. She has received our number.
Kara mentioned this, but I'll just repeat it while we're working on the technology. This additional formative evaluation is being funded through philanthropic funds. This is work exterior to the commission, but Kara and Christina are participating as much and as often as they can with this work. And WestEd has been collecting this data, and hopefully we're going to see Melissa's phone number pop up.
Some wonderful data.
Yeah, why don't we, should we just
It would be possible, I think, just to go to 2E. That will take probably 15 minutes. And then by then, hopefully we'll have things worked out to come back to this.
Well, that way Melissa won't be so kind of stressed out as well, trying to jump in.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna kind of suspend the conversation for now and move to item 2E, which is strengthening parent and family engagement in pre-service preparation. This item is being presented by Cheryl Hickey, and I assume we have her with us since we're moving around the agenda so quickly. This is an information item, so we won't need a motion. Ms. Hickey, are you with us, and are you ready to begin?
I am now with us.
Oh, great. Okay, good. There was that. Oh, no. All right, go for it. Thank you.
Okay, great. So agenda item 2E is strengthening parent and family engagement in pre-service preparation. Joining us is also Araceli Simeon. She's the project director from the Parent Organization Network. And supposedly Dr. Shulamit Riplat of San Diego State University College of Education and its Center for Family, School, and Community Engagement. Although Dr. Riplat's internet is also acting up, so she was going to be joining us by phone, and I believe that Araceli Simeon is going to speak on behalf of both of them. The winds apparently in Southern California, so.
Oh yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, in recent months, the commission staff has been working with these two organizations as well as with public advocates in order to think about the issues that they have raised around strengthening parent and family engagement in educator preparation programs. For some context, the Parent Organization Network, which is not an organization that I was familiar with, is an organization that was formed in 2005 in Los Angeles that, quote, envisions that in every public school, parents truly are equal partners and decision makers in ensuring that opportunities and achievement gaps are closed and that all students have a high quality educational experience that promotes diversity and inclusion, is tailored to their needs, and prepares them for success in school and life. So the organization had partnered with San Diego State University, as well as other advocacy organizations focused on eliminating barriers for all students, but particularly underserved students. Staff met with the representatives of these organizations to discuss the report that is linked in your agenda item 2E, and ways in which they believe that educator preparation programs could be improved to ensure that prospective educators are well equipped to work with in partnership with parents and caregivers. And they use the term parents broadly to include all caregivers for students. Their research led them to the conclusion, and they'll speak here in a moment, that there needs to be more done to prepare prospective and current educators to work with parents and other caregivers as partners in their child's educational experience. Their research indicated that too often, parent engagement is intermingled with community engagement. Both are very important, but both are distinctly different. Is not covered in sufficient depth in some preparation programs, and is often considered an afterthought or an add-on to the program. Their research suggests that more focused curriculum and opportunities should be afforded to candidates to give them tools to work with to build those strong partnerships. And they noted several areas where they believe some of the adopted standards and TPEs could be improved in this regard. So staff work with them to better understand their research and what they heard and what they saw, and distill from their the broader work those items that are within the commission's jurisdiction related to educator prep as opposed to professional development, and to identify some key concepts where we can work closely with them to improve educator preparation. We worked together on a document that is your appendix to this item that represents the collaborative work between the Parent Organization Network, San Diego State, and the commission staff. We provided this document already to the standards working group that are updating the California Standards for the Teaching Profession, CSTP, and to the bilingual authorization panel. Those are the two currently working panels right now in looking at updating our current standards. And our plan is to make sure that the perspectives are also brought forward to any future working panels. And we've asked these groups to consider the research and thoughts of these groups on this important topic to ensure that the revised standards that they bring forward to you for consideration includes that angle, that lens of parent engagement and teacher engagement. So in addition to the items noted, the commission has also been invited to join a national consortium of 7 states that are meeting to build a parent engagement framework for pre-service preparation. The parent organization in San Diego State were already partners in this newly organized consortium. It was organized in 2019, and it's called the National Association for Family, School, and Community Engagement. And the states and organizations participating are listed on page 2. It's supported by AACTE and other organizations. The objective is to build a framework for culturally responsive family engagement and higher education curricula, which minimally will include recommendations for coursework, mentoring, supervision, field experience, and state policy. The framework will address both educator preparation as well as administrative preparation. And the commission staff plans to be in attendance at the meeting in January. That'll be our first meeting with this group. And we'll bring back to you at future meetings any progress that's being made by this group. And once the framework is built or created, then we will bring that document to you to figure out, how to best use that as a resource for our preparation programs in California. So I see Araceli Simeon is on right now, so she may want to say a few words.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Cheryl, for the report and the introduction. As mentioned, my name is Araceli Simeon, and I'm the director of the Parent Organization Network. PON and the San Diego State University Center for Family and Community Engagement are grateful for the collaboration developed with CTC staff to strengthen educator preparation to improve family engagement. As you've heard, the research is clear. Family engagement has a connection to improve outcomes for attendance, academics, social emotional skills, graduation rates, teacher satisfaction, and school improvement. Furthermore, we're seeing that a silver lining from this pandemic is that there's an increased awareness about the importance of strong family-school partnerships to support student success. We've seen that districts that had invested in stronger relationships with families have been able to transition to distance learning more smoothly than those that didn't have such strong relationships. And so we believe that this is definitely the right time to push this work forward. And we acknowledge as well that educators overall in our policies agree in concept about the important role of families in student education, but most are not familiar with the research as it is not included in their academic educator preparation programs. And that's why so many don't have the skill set to implement research-based practices to effectively engage families, especially families of diverse backgrounds. And so again, we believe that the document, Key Concepts on Family Engagement Information for Work Groups to Consider as Standards, is a step in the right direction. If these statements are adopted by the work groups, CTC will send a clear message that working with families is part of being an educator. It will clarify what teachers, administrators, and mentors need to know and be able to do to effectively communicate, build trust in relationships, to then collaborate with families to support child development, student achievement, school improvement, and overall teacher quality. And so we're excited that we're at this juncture and that CTC is also participating in the National Pre-Service Consortium. We believe the experience and the peer learning exchanges with colleagues from other states may spark ideas and develop better ways to prepare and support educators to collaborate with families. And we also are mindful that teachers themselves are not going to be able to do all the engagement, but we want to make sure that there are systems, policies, infrastructure to foster and sustain more authentic engagement in schools. And the last comment that I have is that it is important to mention that we're also seeing developments, positive developments within the Department of Education. They just hired a new family engagement director. And so having designated staff in CTC and in CDE will make it easier to engage in dialogues about family engagement with advocates like PON and San Diego State University so that we can align and better support, again, training for educators during pre-service, induction, and professional development. So thank you so much for all the work appreciate your support, and we look forward to continuing this collaboration in months to come. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Hickey, was the representative from San Diego State able to join?
Let's see. I don't see her on. Does anybody, can anybody behind the scenes see? I don't think so.
No, she's not on. I think, go ahead.
Okay. So we're now, was there anything else, Ms. Hickey, that we're going to do? Otherwise, we'll move to to public comment.
No, thank
Okay.
you. We'll just, you know, this work is just starting, so we're happy to bring you back progress reports as we go through.
Great. So Araceli, please stay on because you might have questions from either the public or the commissioners. We'll now open for public comment. Recording secretary, are there any public comments?
We do not have any public comments.
Okay. So the public comment period for this item is now closed. Do commissioners have any questions or comments? And if so, okay, I see one. Commissioner Brown?
Corey, I saw your hand. Would you like to go first?
Who had the hand?
Okay, you can go first.
Go ahead, Corey, and then I'll follow you up.
Okay, Corey, and then Commissioner.
Okay, first I just want to say that this is amazing. I'm so happy to hear that our parents are getting engaged and are going to be more talked about when we're in our preparation programs. I know for me, I know we've had a course on building partnerships at in my program, and it was there was a lot of parent relationship in there and how to build that. However, the things that you mentioned, Araceli, about the research-based aspect of it, I think that's something that is much needed. Of how do we actually connect with our parents? How do we engage them, even if they're non-traditional parents and things alike? So I'm just really happy to hear that this is happening. So thank you for being here today, and thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Corey. Commissioner Brown.
Well, I'm sorry that you haven't had an opportunity today to get to know Shulamit Riklat. She and I had worked together on the ECE competency work group years ago, and I'm really looking forward to having her back in. She really is an advocate for family engagement in a number of ways. I would also like to just mention that early childhood education as a field, which is looking at children from infancy to 8 years old, has the foundational base that every teacher has two clients, the child and the family. And so I really hope that as this work begins to build at the commission, community colleges, one of our foundational courses is child, family, and community. That the early childhood voice in California gets pulled in. It's essential, and it's also complicated. But it is absolutely essential. The child will be a member. Children are members of their family for their whole lives. Children are members of our classrooms for a little while and a little bit longer in our school systems. And it's essential that children are supported by both these entities who care that children learn, develop, and grow well. So I really hope that as we move forward, this is a great addition to the work that educators do.
Okay. Commissioner Barnes, then Commissioner Marks.
Yeah, I was just going to say my
Commissioner Barnes, I'm getting, is everybody else not getting?
Was talk about.
Commissioner Barnes, I think your Wi-Fi is unstable, as Zoom usually tells us. And now we lost her. All right. Let's go to Commissioner Marks, and then hopefully Commissioner Barnes will be able to call in. Oh, wait, she's still. Commissioner Barnes, if you can actually call in, I'm going to go ahead and go to Commissioner Marks. Thanks.
So I don't just want to beat the same drum, but I don't know if this work it would be enriched by the model of all the Waldorf charter schools in the state, which are growing numbers. I do 5 parent meetings a year, every year. It's like embedded in what we do and have done since 1919. And I think it's also an important model to look at when we engage parents about educating the whole child. That is what we do. It's what we've been doing for decades. And I think it's rich, and I think there's a lot to learn there, as well as what charter Waldorf schools and like my school, totally under the umbrella of my district, what we do in the realm of home visits and engaging parents from their entry into the school and throughout their walk through the journey of our school for those many 10 years. So there are some rich models out there. There are people doing it in our state, and I hope that we would look there as well.
Thank you. Commissioner Barnes, are you back? All right, we'll give her a little bit of time. Araceli, I wonder if you want to give one example, kind of leave us with a nice inspiration of a way that you guys have engaged parents and families in pre-service. So maybe one story or example that stands out to you to help us kind of put a face on this.
At this point, a lot of our models and a lot of our experience hasn't been in pre-service, but it has been in working with parents from K through 12 for about 15 years. And so part of some of our initial projects were in trying to resolve conflict in LAUSD between administrators and parents. So yes, the relationship can be complicated, but part of what we found is that in working with the board and the administration, training was able to be developed so that principals would be supported. And part of what was found was that a lot of the principals were not building those relationships. And so without the relationship building, both parties come at a time when they're stressed and they're trying to resolve issues. But if there's no relationship to build towards or to try to maintain, then the interactions tend to be more negative, more blaming each other as opposed to collaborating to support the child. And so by providing training to administrators in LAUSD on relationship building, on how to resolve conflict, and how to tap onto all the various supports that the district can provide, they've been able to change this dynamic in some school districts, in which when a parent comes with a concern, especially if a parent comes to a school thinking that their child is being bullied, emotions are high. And so they've been able better to prepare staff and their school staff support, as well as the supports at the central level, so they can respond to the situation, not with punishment, but with more empathy and understanding. And on the outside, we have worked with parent leaders, so they're also more empathetic and they're checking their own emotions and they're working with other advocates. So when they have difficulty with some of their cases, they have more support as well in presenting the information. We're also working with CDE in looking at how everything is shifting. And we're also beginning to see some positive trends. Even before the pandemic, school districts are trying to engage. School districts are beginning to invest in hiring more staff from the school side to the district level to begin to provide, again, more systems and more support so that they can comply with engagement. But we want to go beyond engagement. We want to go with connection, because when you actually finally make connections is when you're able to see, but the connections have to be designed in such a way that you're not only connecting for connecting's sake, but you're connecting always focused on the student so that you can support their development, their learning, and get the benefits that the research is telling us that we can achieve.
Great, thank you so much for doing that. We have lots of questions coming up. So I don't know if Commissioner Barnes is back on. I'm going to go to Commissioner Grano-Shire, and then I'll check in with Commissioner Barnes.
Thank you, Commissioner Martinez. I was so pleased to see this agenda item, and I look forward to the updates regarding the work decades ago, as a new faculty member at Long Beach State, I had the great fortune to work with a couple of community-based organizations that involve families, and we develop a Promotori program, and I'm curious and hopeful that this work might explore those kinds of programs that build parent capacity to work with other parents on school sites. So I really appreciate this update, and I look forward to the work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Barnes, are you back with us?
She texted me.
Okay.
She says she can hear us and see us, but her internet's not allowing her to be seen or be heard.
Okay. So, and she didn't want to call in with her phone.
All she wanted to tell you was that she agrees.
Okay. All right. Let it be known that Commissioner Barnes agrees on in her last CTC meeting. I saw Commissioner Marks, you were trying to get back in, and then Commissioner Brown, I wasn't sure if you raised your hand again or if we just hadn't put it down.
No, I hadn't put it down, but I also see Corey's hand up. I think she and I are connected at the hip here.
Okay. Corey, there you are. Go ahead, Corey. I saw it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So my question is with working with parents, and I'm sure that there's a lot of need for data to drive some of the standards that we're trying to put in place and working with our education preparation programs. I'm just curious to hear just what are some of the methods of gathering that data that you're seeing, because I know sometimes it can be difficult working and getting that data from a lot of different parents in different spaces.
Kara, would you like to answer? I'll go ahead and.
I'm not exactly sure whether you're talking about so we gather data from program completers about how confident, how well they feel prepared. And those are aligned to our TPEs. And as you know, there are some TPEs related to parent engagement, community engagement, family engagement. So we do have some data from program completers. We do not have data from parents themselves. So I think that's where Araceli and her group come into play. They can give us a lot more information that can help guide our work. So Araceli, do you want to?
I would point out, I think that this is just the into to this effort, and Cheryl will be bringing updates to you later. And now that you've asked this question, we will put this on our list of things to look at for the future.
For sure. Thank you.
Okay, Corey. And then Commissioner Marks, and then we'll wrap this up.
Well, I just wanted to just throw out a resource out there. If our school's invested in this pretty heavily, and a structured program, a concrete program that's on the ground at our school and other schools in the state that helps parents walk through conflict and very complex issues in regards to their children and their participation in our school sites. In that program, it was developed by a psychologist, a child psychologist called Kim John Payne. And his program is called The Three Streams. And obviously it looks at the social, the emotional, and the academic support systems that need to be in place for any child and any family to grow and thrive, and to develop the parent's capacity at a school site. So just a resource to throw out there that we have found successful.
Great. Thank you so much. And I love the enthusiasm as we've really transitioned to engaging parents, or more like what Araceli says, is to connect with them, have them collaborate with our educators to serve students. So this is an information item, so no action is needed at this time. Thank you, Ms. Hickey, and thank you, Araceli. And we will move back to 2D if we have Melissa from WestEd on the call. And I'm sorry, Commissioner Barnes, that we've lost you. Okay. Are we ready to resume 2D? Do we have Melissa?
I think we do. She is in the Southern California where the windy winds are blowing, and she was just alerted that they will be having a public safety power shut off.
I did.
Well, we wish everyone in Southern California.
Right? We wish them well.
Yep.
Right.
So then, Katie, do you want to put the deck back up? There we go.
Melissa, I just gave you the access to unmute your phone. You need to follow the prompt to unmute your phone. I think it's.
Melissa, are you there?
She is there, but she's on the phone. She can hear us. I just give her the prompt to unmute her phone. Melissa, I think it's *6. You need to unmute your phone to talk. Okay, she now can talk.
Great. All right.
There we go.
All right. Hi, everyone. So thank you for your patience.
Not a problem at all. And thank you for being flexible with your schedule. And we wish you safety in Southern California with the high winds. So Katie's going to start screen sharing. Still waiting for that in case you can't see the screen. And I'll let you know when it's up. And
while she's doing that, I can start speaking a little bit.
Thank you. Okay, and it's up.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. All right. Thanks, everybody. Well, and thank you to commissioners for your patience and for the opportunity to share back some of what we're learning in the formative evaluation and for the great partnership in working with the CTC on this evaluation. With both Kara and Christina, we've so appreciated the collaboration. Today, I'm going to keep this short. I know I'm standing between the commissioners and lunch, and so I'll just touch on some high-level findings from WestEd's evaluation work today. The full report from which I'll draw in this presentation is linked in the agenda item for those of you who are interested in more that I'll have time to touch on today. I'm going to begin with just a brief background. Kate, if you want to move to the next slide. Just to share a bit about the purpose of the evaluation work that WestEd has been conducting. So the state made this major investment in teacher residencies. As far as we know, it's the biggest investment a state has made in teacher residencies. So our team's goal has been to support key audiences to be able to learn from this work as the initiative unfolds. As we've understood it, the overarching goal of the program is to produce diverse, well-prepared completers who take jobs in high-need subjects in schools and in partner districts and are retained over time. So in partnership with CTC, we've designed our evaluation to try to collect data that can help us understand the progress of the teacher residency grant programs towards that goal and share learnings with the audiences that are listed here on your screen. And so we've been sharing back data directly with the funded partnerships, so they have an opportunity to learn and use the data, we hope, for continuous improvement. We're sharing back in various reporting for policymakers and funders and other outside and interested parties, as well as technical assistance providers, particularly those involved with the California Teacher Residency Lab. In year one of the evaluation, our team conducted 2 rounds of surveys in the fall and the spring and collaborated with CTC on the collection of program data, as well as conducted 4 small case studies. The data we're going to present today is largely drawn from the spring stakeholder surveys that we conducted, which examined key aspects of the residency work from multiple perspectives, including the residents, the participating residents themselves, the mentor teachers of those residents, and the supervisors of those residents, as well as the partnership team members. Primarily, the team members are from the IHE or the LEA and are involved in the day-to-day work of the residency program. So on the right-hand side of your screen and the stakeholder survey topics, you'll see just some of the areas that we touched on in the various stakeholder surveys, depending on which survey instrument we asked about these items for those stakeholders who we believed would have insight into how these areas were working within the residency programs. It's important to know that we conducted our spring stakeholder surveys starting in mid-April, which was just a month into the school closures, which presented some challenges for us, but also gave us an opportunity to understand and learn about how COVID was impacting the residencies. Next slide. So just to give you a quick window into our response rates as you're getting the context of the data that we'll present from in the fall, our overall response rates across the surveys that we conducted were 76%. And in the spring, the overall response rate was 69%. And you can see looking down in this table that in both rounds, the resident response rates were the highest, which we were really pleased and excited by. I'll turn now to just touching on a few of the findings that help give us insight into the progress of these programs towards the overarching goals for the work and how COVID impacted the residencies. We've talked about this. I've heard this topic come up quite a bit so far in the commission meeting today, and I know that Kara and Christina already shared a little bit of this data, but I'll touch on this briefly. Nearly 70% of the year one teacher residents who responded to our survey and identified as people of color. Across all residents in the 2019-20 cohort who responded to the spring survey, the largest group identified as Latinx or Hispanic at 52%. This cohort of residents better reflects the demographics of the grantee LEAs, student populations, than do the teaching workforces in those LEAs. Kate, I'm sorry, I didn't say to go to the next slide. We probably already did, but the one that shows the district teachers and district students too would be great. This is given the most recent years for which these demographic data were available. For example, you can see that the percentage of resident survey respondents identifying as Latinx or Hispanic at 52% is greater than that of the current teaching workforce across the grantee LEAs at 30%. Still, across the residency programs, overall, a greater proportion of resident survey respondents are white compared with the grantee LEA's students. 52% of residents identified as Latinx Hispanic, as I said, and that compares, for example, with 65% of the students. Particularly notable is a very small percentage of residents who are identifying as Black or African American at 2%, compared with almost 8% of the students in those districts. So this slide just gives a sense of a response to a global item that we asked in the spring to gauge perceptions of the program. We asked everybody who received a survey to indicate whether they would recommend the program to someone who wants to become a teacher. So you can see the blue and lighter blue on the bars show relatively strong agreement with that statement. Nearly all stakeholders, so 83 to 93% in each stakeholder group indicated they'd recommend the program to someone who wants to become a teacher. And this percentage of stakeholders who were endorsing the program at that level was pretty consistent from fall to spring, because we asked the item on both of the time points. And for partnership team members, it actually increased. So we wanted to dig in to better understand in our what we could learn about what's behind those strong endorsements. And so we looked at, in particular, one of the open-ended items that appeared in all the surveys that prompted respondents to reflect on the strengths of the programs. And the primary strength that really jumped out across all the surveys was the richness of the clinical experience that the residency programs provided. So Kate, you could go to the next slide. We have just a couple of quotes on that slide. You may have to click through a couple times to bring them up. One from a resident and one from a mentor teacher that give a little window into that perspective. And so I'll just pause for a quick minute so you can read those quotes. So you can see residents and mentors really appreciated the opportunity for residents to be present in their clinical placements throughout the full academic year, and the way that a full academic year clinical placement exposed residents to important learning experiences to integrate, that allowed them to integrate more fully into the culture and daily rhythms of their placement sites than a shorter placement might. So just switching gears a little bit, I'll go to the next slide to share the insight that we gleaned in the spring about residents' intentions to take jobs in their partner districts. With the overarching goal of this program in mind, we were curious how residents were feeling about their commitments to take jobs in their partner districts. And as you can see here, 80% or close to 80% planned to take jobs in the partner districts. And again, the timing of this is important because the surveys went out a month into the school closures. So that was a time of great uncertainty, and that we saw about 80% pretty certain they were going to take jobs in their partner districts. We followed up with the question for those who expressed uncertainty about continuing on into the partner districts to better understand why that might be so, and found that for the most part, the most common factors influencing the response were concerns about COVID-19 impacting hiring in their district, uncertainty about job openings, or concerns about COVID-19 impacting their ability to complete credentialing requirements. So let's see. I also wanted to just touch briefly on sort of understanding some of the aspects of life for residents in this program, given the big time commitment in the clinical experience. And so we did probe a bit on residents' experience of their financial situations during the program, and among other issues around financial sustainability that we elaborate more on in the report. But one finding was that financial hardships for residents worsened during the COVID context. Pre-COVID, we asked residents here in the item that you're seeing, we asked residents to reflect on their experiences across these areas of food insecurity, housing insecurity, ability to pay bills, and school-related expenses. And you can see that pre-COVID, there was a not insignificant minority of residents who were experiencing some of those hardships. We also followed up with open-ended items to ask about if financial situations has changed as a result of COVID, and about half of the residents responding to that item described negative financial shifts or concerns about money. And looking at those responses disaggregated by race and ethnicity, we did find that there was, it appeared that residents of color were disproportionately experiencing financial hardships. As for the reasons behind those shifts, they included things like loss of income from subbing or other teaching-related jobs. So I'm going to shift now to the next slide, just to give a little bit more insight into how school closures impacted the residencies, in particular, what residents experienced in their clinical placements after school closures. And so, as we all might have expected, residents and mentors expressed concern about a loss of teaching and learning experience, and this included concerns over the chance for residents to teach full lessons on their own, less time to practice skills like classroom management, and for special education residents in particular, missed opportunities such as leading IEP meetings and conducting assessments. But it also appeared that most mentor and resident pairs pretty quickly adapted to online learning. In comments on the surveys, it appeared over 80% of the responses indicated residents continued to communicate and collaborate with their mentors, even during that challenging time frame in the spring. And residents said they were helping with many elements of online instruction, including planning lessons, conducting or assisting with Zoom meetings, holding office hours, grading, and then, as I think everybody was then, researching ways to use online tools. I'm just about to start moving towards the end of this presentation, and with that, I wanted to share just some of the areas that did show up as areas that might be areas for growth in these programs. It's important to remember many of these programs are brand new residencies, and there's so much to get up and running. And so we looked for sort of areas where there may be sort of opportunities for improvement across the survey items that we asked. And I thought I would just share a few of the themes that came out of those data. First, partnerships have consistently indicated that recruitment of residents, particularly residents of color, is one of their greatest areas of need. According to the CTC data that was collected to understand projections for year one, the total residents enrolled in year one was lower than had been originally expected. Those lower numbers were likely due to the challenges that partnerships faced in trying to start up and design their residencies while also recruiting and supporting their first cohort of residents. Second, was the work to try and build coherence between what residents learn and rehearse in university coursework and what they experience and practice in their clinical placements. It requires a lot of coordination between the instructors, supervisors, and mentors, as you all know. And mentors in particular on the surveys expressed they felt they could use more support in making those connections to coursework and helping residents applying what they're learning in coursework. And that came up in several different items on mentor surveys. Third, more than a third of partnership team members indicated that they were struggling to balance the residency work with other professional responsibilities. And that was a theme in both the spring and the fall. And finally, most programs, and 65% reported that they are lacking a robust 3 to 5 year financial model for the residency program. We might not particularly expect them to have that all sorted in the first year of a program, but I think all of us are interested in the ways in which programs are building towards that so that these programs can be self-sustaining eventually. The partnership team members, when asked what kind of residency training or support they would like this year, one of the highest interests was in receiving support to develop financially sustainable models. So in our report, we do include several vignettes about how programs are working to overcome some of these challenges. And there's some really wonderful strategies that different programs are using to put the pieces of residency in place in a variety of different contexts. And so just in closing, I'll say, as I said earlier, I think we're all aware this is year one and an incredibly challenging year one for these programs. And it's heartening to see how much progress was made in the year one, given the context of starting programs and then a pandemic. I'll just wrap up here and say, I think there's just a couple, actually, I should say we do have one other last slide. We're continuing on the path of collecting data in year two and doing stakeholder surveys with continuing attention to the COVID context, further probing into issues around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we're doing surveys of the program completers this year so we can get insight into what it has been like for those completers who've taken teaching jobs. We'll have employment data, as Christina and Kara referred to, so it'll be really interesting in the coming years to see how the employment data and what we're able to learn from that unfolds. And lastly, we're doing some spotlights and practice this year, but we'll share back starting in the new year. So our report is linked in the agenda for those of you who are interested in reading a little bit more about what we learned. And again, thank you so much for your engagement. And I'm so sorry that I'm not able to see you all and for the delay in being able to present today.
Thank you. And Melissa, please do stay on the call as we move into public comments and commissioner discussion. We will now open for public comment. Comments at ctc.ca.gov. The phone number 916-322-6253. Recording secretary, are there any public comments?
Yes. Brian Johnson, please state your name and affiliation for the record.
Video to come up there. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dr. Brian Johnson, and I represent the Los Angeles Unified School District in my capacity as Director, Certificated Workforce Management in our Human Resources Division. Now, LA Unified is the proud recipient of the Teacher Residency Grant, along with 4 of our local partner institutions of higher education: Cal State University Dominguez Hills, Cal State University Los Angeles, Cal State University Northridge, and UCLA. Together, between last year and this year, our second cohort, we have trained or are in the process of training 160 new special education, STEM, and bilingual teachers in our residency programs under this grant. Though the first 18 months of our residency programs have come with significant challenges, including the accelerated timeline for initial implementation, competition with alternative certification pathways for candidates, and the many adjustments and accommodations we have all had to make due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we are glad to report that these programs are thriving in LA Unified. We are beginning to reap the benefits of this innovative and extremely effective model of training exceptional teachers who are invested in their communities and are well prepared to handle the challenges and triumphs of the teaching profession. We are also pleased to report that through the collective efforts of our staff and of our IHE partners, the 160 new teachers we are shepherding into the profession consist of over 80% persons of color, further enhancing our efforts to ensure that our workforce is representative of the diverse backgrounds of our students and our communities. This grant program compels us to work in extremely close collaboration with our IHE partners, which has allowed us to collectively respond to and meet the needs of our residents and mentors, as well as our IHEs and the district. We are often meeting and collaborating on a weekly basis and sometimes multiple times per week. This collaboration is necessary on multiple fronts, including resident recruitment, placement, professional development, support for mentors, issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion within our resident cohorts, and the future sustainability of these programs. The implementation of this program and the peripheral supports offered by the California Residency Lab have served to further strengthen our already solid relationships with our partner IHEs and have compelled us to delve deeper into the challenges of making these programs sustainable after the grant program has reached its sunset. To this end, we would encourage the Commission to explore the future sustainability of these programs in further depth and to advocate to the legislature on behalf of IHEs and LEAs to find ways to support this work with additional future funding. We would like to express our gratitude to West Ed and to the Residency Lab for their guidance and their support, to the commissioners for their unwavering advocacy for these programs, and to the Commission staff for their extraordinary responsiveness and assistance, and I mean extraordinary responsiveness and assistance. We are truly grateful to have such amazing partners in this work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Johnson. Are there other public comments, Recording Secretary?
We received a request, but we're not able to locate the individual on the roster.
Okay.
If Jacqueline Ollison is connected, could you please indicate so by raising your hand? Okay, I believe I see this individual. Hold on just one moment. Please state your name and affiliation for the record.
Hi,
Looks like I was rejoined. Can you hear me now? Good afternoon. My name is Jacqueline Ollison. I am the program director for the California Teacher Residency Lab. I just wanted to express my profound gratitude for the work that WestEd is doing to evaluate the efficacy of teacher residency programs. At the California Teacher Residency Lab, we provide professional learning support, capacity building support for all teacher residency program grantees, with a particular focus on recruiting, retaining, and supporting educators of color. As you can see from the data that was shared, residency programs are particularly effective at bringing in educators of color. And we feel that as we move towards more equity-driven teacher preparation, programs like this are absolutely essential and vital for ensuring that all of the educators that we bring in, especially educators of color, are supported so that they will remain in the profession. And given everything that's happened this year with COVID-19 and issues of race, equity is more important than ever. And it's not enough to just bring in educators of color. We also need to make sure that they can teach effectively and that they have the skills that they need to make sure that every child in California thrives. And I also just want to say thank you to the Commission, Cara Mendoza, Christina Navarro, Mary Vixie Sandy, Terry Clark, all of you for your continued support of our work. And thank you.
Thank you so much. And thanks for calling in. Recording Secretary, are there any other public comments?
We do not have any additional requests. Thank you.
Thank you. The public comment period for this item is now closed. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments on this item? And again, just wave your hand or put your virtual hand up in the panelist section. I do actually just want to add my thanks as well to WestEd, not only for this report, but for the rigor of your study and the comprehensiveness. And of course, I would be remiss not to thank the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for supporting this evaluation, and certainly the state of California and CTC benefits greatly from the work you guys are doing. So just want to really give you huge thanks for the funding as well as the work. Any questions, which certainly wouldn't reflect a lack of interest, just a long morning. Okay, Commissioner Brown.
It's not a question, but actually a supportive comment, and I'll keep it short, but I just wanted to let everyone know that this issue around mentor teachers that the teacher residency is looking at, it cannot be overemphasized. And in the Community College Faculty Senate resolution, we included a piece about supporting mentor teachers for early childhood as well. It's absolutely essential that people who are beginning their work, and this program shows it, do better when they have guides and people that are shepherding them in.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Brown. And I also just want to add thanks to LAUSD for talking about the 4 partners and what this does by partnering with multiple higher ed institutions within one district. And just want to thank you for your public comment as well as your participation in the residency. Other questions? Okay, Commissioner, Student Liaison Corey Jones.
I think it's more of a comment. I think it's so important that we have these programs, especially because they're bringing in folks that really represent the folks that we are trying to teach. And I think it's important just to kind of talk about the mentor teacher as well, that the mentor teacher also reflects that population as well, because we want to make sure that we're also bridging and that coming in teacher can see themselves as well in their mentor teacher, that they may feel that they can connect to them as well. So I just had that comment as well.
Thank you. It's a really important, this is a super important comment, and I appreciate you adding that, Ms. Jones. All right, well, without seeing any other hands, this is an information item only, so no action is needed at this time. And I know that you guys are living for me to say, having no additional items for today, I now recess the Educator Preparation Committee until tomorrow, and I turn it back over to you, Commissioner Hind.
All right, look at that, right on time too. Okay, let me get back on my script. So I now recess the general session. Members of the commission will go into closed session after a very short lunch. The general session will reconvene tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning. So commissioners, we are going to take a half an hour lunch and be on our closed session call at 1:30. And Haiju, should we wait for you to send us an email telling us it's time to get on?
Yes, please.
Okay, so wait for that email from Haiju or Rhonda, and then whenever they send it, see you there.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
All right.